How's it going, everyone, and welcome to another episode of No Excuses on VGWProductions.com and YouTube.com with your favorite show hosts, Still.
Fenurian.
And Volacel, and we're here to bring you the latest news and commentary on the video games industry, having returned from our sojourn in the land of E3.
The land of hype and disappointment.
The land
Yeah,
of
generally speaking, it's hype and disappointment.
Yeah. Oh boy. So yeah, that was a whole ordeal. E3 actually lasted for 2 weeks this time because they can't keep everything organised and nice and together. Everyone's got to spread out and make their own little show now.
Yeah, this is what happens when E3 falls apart. It falls apart across the weeks when we do the show. So
Yep. Oh boy. So yeah, it was definitely a thing. Like, we saw really dumb things like that whole ordeal with the dancing panda again from Ubi. And yeah, Sony building a tent, a rather elaborate tent, just to show one game trailer and then kick everybody out.
we learned that Bethesda is actually self-aware, at least.
Oh, we've known that for a while. We just need to be reminded of it every now and again.
I actually really did enjoy that little trailer that they did.
Yeah.
For what was it? The Alexa.
Yeah, that's actually a thing, by the way. You can play it.
You can't tempt people like that.
Yeah, they will go looking for it, and they will be disappointed if they can't find it. So you can actually play Skyrim on your Alexa.
Well, for a given value of play. Skyrim.
It reminds me a lot of those, text-based adventure games, that kind of deal.
Get ye flask.
Get ye flask. Or in this
Invalid
case,
command.
get ye Fustro Da.
Invalid command.
Invalid command.
Please try again.
So yeah, E3 is over. Thank goodness.
It was not very exciting.
No, it was kind of bad.
Just, there wasn't any video games there.
No. Like, normally you can rely on Sony to actually fork up a good pile of games, but Microsoft actually did it this year.
Yeah, it's just, even then, though, we saw a whole lot of things that could be video games, that are probably going to be video games.
And probably never be released.
A lot of things we're hopeful for, but we didn't see. There's no new video games to get our hands on. Well, not very many. That people could actually play and come back with reports about.
Yeah. Like, a lot of the games that have been showed, some of them are going to get playable demos over the next few weeks, and Gamescom,
Gamescom. Yeah, we'll see the ones that have made significant progress at Gamescom. I've seen a lot of articles about a bunch of ones that are showing up there.
Yeah.
Yeah, the only thing you really care about is the fact that DMC5 is going to be playable at Gamescom.
That's probably the most
that's
important
what you're
thing.
Actually thinking about.
That is why I did just read that, so it's in the forefront of my brain, but yes.
Yeah, they've got to make good showing of that, because that trailer they showed did not really send the right message.
Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Well, I think that what people really want to be reassured of is that the game is back, not just that they're putting on airs.
Yeah.
They can use whatever the heck engine they want as long as it plays right. That's all I care about.
Got to make sure those meats look good.
Those two things are mutually exclusive. Like, you can't use whatever the heck engine you want, because if the engine they choose is the DMC Devil May Cry engine, well, it's not going to play the way you want it to.
Yeah, but never. Well, anyway, nobody wants to hear me talk about the FE7 engine. So, anyway, weren't we in the shtick?
We were.
If you would like to get involved with the show, you can send us email at noexcusesvtw@gmail.com, or you can follow us on the Twitter at noexcusesvtw. You can join us in the not IRC anymore. Nobody uses IRC.
Nobody uses IRC.
You can join us in the Discord chat by going to vtwproductions.com and clicking on the show logo on any of our recent show posts, which should take you directly to our Discord server, where you can chat with any of the show hosts or any of the other listeners to the show who are logged on.
Do it now.
And post image memes and junk.
Well, whatever. Complain about gotchas.
Fairies.
What? Who's arguing?
Huh?
Nobody argues about Ferdy. I think we're pretty much unanimous on that.
Well, no, the discussion has come up at various points on how furry counts as furry.
Oh, right, that discussion. Right.
I think it is an important issue that needs to be addressed.
I I've tried to categorize various levels of furriness, but it is just a dangerous topic.
I think there's a handy chart someone did up. A
Yeah,
sliding scale of how nope it should be.
There are plenty.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Anything beyond ears is a nope.
Once they start getting fur below the head.
Yeah.
Oh boy. So, I suppose we'll just jump into weeks then. And my week is unfortunately kind of bland. I suppose it's 3 weeks, but most of my time has actually been covered up by E3. There was a lot of behind-the-scenes work that needed to be done, as well as a bunch of tech improvements for the show, which you cannot see in a regular show, by the way.
Yeah, well, maybe you can do something about that.
Yeah, we'll think about it. There is thinking in the works. And I know we've been saying that all year, but now it's actually
Not
might
much
happen.
working in the thing, fortunately.
Yeah. Got this whole idea where we come up with a great idea and promptly forget it.
We never write anything down.
Yeah. I've got a folder of bad ideas I've written down, and most of them are really, really bad. You do not want to see this fault. It is the
Why are you keeping those ones?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Maybe one of them might have turned into a good idea if you just let it mature enough. Like cheese.
Like cheese.
So, anyway.
Most people would say fine wine, but for some reason cheese is just more amusing.
Cheese is so much more amusing. Also more apt.
Because it tends to smell.
Yes, and it is effectively decomposed. But
This is a tangent and a half. We haven't even got to your week, Fern.
No, we have not. But I did keep up with my animes, and My Hero Academia continues to tug on the heartstrings, because good grief.
Too heavy. It's too heavy.
It's just too heavy. I want my silly shonen-y, action-y back.
Yeah, that's what the next episode looks like. It's going down that road.
Yeah.
It's going to do the bedroom comparisons story.
Oh dear. This is going to go nowhere good.
It was an interesting manga chapter, to say the least, but it's at least less heavy than the previous couple episodes, which have been, it's a real turning point.
Oh yeah, big stuff happens. But I'm not going to spoil anything. Go watch it yourself, because not spoilers. Shokugeki continues to be great. Ishiki gets his own time in the spotlight and somehow manages to keep his pants on, which is great.
Yeah, like that's how you can tell he's serious, as he's actually dressed.
Yes.
Which is sort of like the opposite of all the other characters in the show.
Yeah, that show tends to do very strange things with, everything, let's face it. But, just the foodgasms in that last episode. I just watched it 3 times because of what were they thinking with this? Anywho, stuff I actually did get to do that I can talk about is I picked up Briefcases, the latest offering from Jim Butcher in the Dresden Files, which has taken him way too long.
The story.
I know, right?
Like, did he even write these, or are they just like scraps that he had lying around that got collated into a book?
A bit of both.
They are. He has course of forever and published them as one-off stories set in the Dresden Files universe in collections mostly. Mm-hmm. Like there'll be a collection. There's like just collections of.
Oh, you are
lagging really bad. Like I can't hear what you're saying.
Oh,
yeah,
no.
Something horrible just happened there. So a lot of them were put into compilations with other authors. The Bigfoot trilogy has actually been released as its own book.
Really?
Yep, it has.
Yeah.
And I think there's 2 original writings for this one.
Yeah, there's 2 first ones. I forget what the number is. Yeah. Haven't been in these urban fantasy short story collections.
All I'm hearing is he's not doing his job.
Yeah, he's gone off onto another signing tour instead of actually writing peace talks.
The signing tour is not the place you go where you sit down you do your work and you write your book.
No, you should go home and write your book.
That's something that is very much a trope in anime. Any anime that's focused on writers, the editor is always this unbelievably harried and hassled looking person who is constantly trying to trick his writers into doing their work.
Yeah.
Because left to their own devices, they won't.
Yeah,
They
they'll
absolutely won't.
happily faff around instead.
As soon as conventions became mainstream, it seems like everybody's waiting on their author to get back to work for
Yeah.
whatever book series they like.
So as far as the
Well, yeah,
stories,
I presume that they get reimbursed for their appearances a lot of these cons, so it's quick money. When writers often go a long time between big paydays.
yeah,
So I suppose it's just very tempting for them.
That and some of them. It's especially bad with the nerdy ones who would want to show up at these things anyway. So,
they want to be with their nerdy kind.
and get paid for it.
See, that's the best deal I could possibly be offered. Do something
Yeah, but
nerdy
that's-
and get paid for it.
Yeah, but that's like fantasy job. That's why we all have real jobs.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because-
like if it was remotely possible for me to goof off and do nerdy things and get paid to do it, I'd be all over that. I wouldn't be spending my time at a bench with a pipette.
I would not be trying to wrangle a family business if I could just sit at my computer and play video games and make money for it.
yeah.
It's like you say wrangle figuratively, but more of the time it sounds like you are literally wrangling them with like a rope.
Yes.
I wish. I'm about a hair away from doing that sometimes.
Oh boy. So the stories in this cluster of Dresden goodness, which is late and not the actual next book. We've got from Naked City. It was Curses, which is all about. I believe it's the Wrigley Field Billy Goat Curse.
That one was a comic, and then it got a short story ization of it, I guess. But it was
Yeah.
a comic first.
Yeah. So it's a little. I believe it's a little bit of faffing about with the Svart Elves. We get a.
It's
It's a faction that hasn't really seen a whole lot of screen time yet.
They're going to show up quite a bit in these stories, actually. He fell in love with those things for about 4 short stories.
Yes, he did. So
I'm sort of pretty unclear on who or what they even are because they in the which one was it? The one one of the recent ones that I read, somewhere in the recent two. They spent an awful lot of time referring to them without ever telling us anything about them. It almost seemed like I was expected to already know a whole pile about them.
yeah,
it's
Cold
really
Days
weird
does
when
that.
Yeah, he has relegated them to like, and he
You cut out. No, I don't know what they've been relegated to because you cut out.
Again,
The short stories exclude. There's almost nothing or nothing about them in the main books,
yeah,
but he uses them all the diddly dang time in all the short stories he's written after Cold Days.
yeah. They keep popping up in the short stories, and there's a lot of stuff he's written before they actually got mentioned in the main series. So that's why it's all kind of assumed you already know this stuff. But
This is sounding a lot like World of Warcraft writing here.
it's all in the novel. Go read the novel instead of playing the game. Ugh. So for those who don't know, they're Norse craftsmen who look like the Greys, as in generic Roswell aliens.
Kind of. Yeah.
Kind of. Yeah.
There are some interpretations of them that have them as dark elves, some as dwarfs.
Yeah.
There's not what Spartells actually are.
They tend to use a lot of glamour. So their actual form... They look like Greys to Harry under his sight, so yeah.
Yeah.
Is there supposed to be any implication that they are tied to what people know as Greys?
That's how, I guess, his brain interprets it.
Right.
Because, yeah, the sight is one of those really nebulous things as well. So
Well,
Harry...
the thing is, I don't really understand the site. I don't feel like they really explain it very well because it seems to be implied to be simultaneously completely subjective and also only tells the truth.
Yes.
And I don't understand that at all.
And it also leaves a lot of it up to interpretation depending on who is actually using it.
It's like the site of its own. The way
Oh boy.
it just kind of it knows. Am I lagging that bad?
You are lagging that bad, yeah.
You got really bad today. In fact, not until we started broadcasting.
Yeah, as soon as we started broadcasting, it all just went straight to hell.
Okay, I would love to talk about Dresden then. I'm going to go figure out who's downloading something.
Yeah. I swear they do it on
Isn't
purpose.
it incredible? For those listening, Ari doesn't actually have to do anything when we're broadcasting. Like, his internet is not responsible for that.
No, that's
There's
all
no
on my
reason
end.
why things would change when we start broadcasting. But invariably, if you hear Ari cutting out on the recording or live, it's happening in real time, and it wasn't happening 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Our show is a absolute spaghetti of tech and weirdness. Anywho, where was I? So yeah, that's all about the Billy Goat Curse. Foray Wizardry is Harry teaching a class of young wardens, along with an accompanying story, which is effectively putting the lessons he's teaching into practice. It's kind of an interesting read, that one.
Yeah, I'm not sure what sort of teacher he is, because that's another thing that I feel like the story is lacking a little bit, is that you never really see him teaching his apprentice.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's just, oh, well, this happened off screen and now she knows how to do this and she's an amateur at it. Like, I
Yeah.
guess I don't really know what sort of teacher he is.
Well, when he's in Foray Wizardry, he's teaching in front of a lecture hall, and he kind of comes across as the slightly daft college professor who's up there and he's kind of being a wise ass about things, but still ultimately imparting knowledge in a roundabout kind of way.
Somehow that doesn't really seem like Harry's scene,
Yeah.
like, to be in front of a lecture hall, at the front of a lecture hall, lecturing people.
He looks like he's completely out of place initially until he can start being a smartass, in which case he suddenly becomes completely at home.
He's in his element then.
Yes. Alright, so that's that. Even Hand is, I believe it was a Marcone-centric book with him as the protagonist.
Protagonist?
Yeah. So it's all from Marcone's perspective. Villain protagonist, yes, gotta love it. Marcone is not a nice person. In the series.
They find a way to sort of temporarily. I'm pretty sure it's deliberate that you sort of find yourself temporarily tricked into thinking he's a good guy sometimes.
Yeah.
And so the story has to keep reminding you, when it's gone too long since the last time he did something evil. The story has to remind you that Harry doesn't trust him.
Yeah. Even Hand kind of goes a long way in playing with that mechanic, I guess, because, yeah, okay, he's an absolute bastard. He murders, he kills, he steals, he murders again. But he also has rules. And he has standards that he applies. So if you can keep within those lines, he can be a reasonable ally. But cross them and he will do absolutely horrible things.
What about everybody's favorite poorly written sociopath?
He gets fleshed out. Which sociopath are you working about, by the way? This is Marcone, not Nicodemus.
Yeah, I figured.
Yeah, get the right sociopath.
There's only one very explicit sociopath that is human in that series.
Nicodemus is debatable on his humanity.
Dude.
Well, the thing with Nicodemus, though, he's not really a sociopath. Like, he's just an evil person.
He's just an absolute
because
bastard.
He gets super emotional a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
It's just that he's just an absolutely rotten existence.
Yes.
Like that, and I think it would weaken his character if he were a sociopath, because that would mean that, oh, well, he's got some sort of defect that makes him evil.
Yeah.
As opposed to, oh no, he actually chose this path because he's a bad person.
Mm-hmm. He calls himself a sociopath, but yeah.
He's not, though. He doesn't act like one.
Alright, the Bigfoot trilogy. Beers for Bigfoot, Bigfoot on Campus, and I've missed one there. I Was a Teenage Bigfoot. Is, I suppose, where Harry's father dynamic came from, to a degree. It's Harry being a mentor to a half Bigfoot kid.
This
I don't even want to ask. why there's a half Bigfoot.
So these were written
It involved
before,
a long winter
Yeah.
and isolation.
I see.
Yeah.
these were written before Maggie was a thing.
Yes.
So they're not very good IMO. They're all very generic.
The first one is rather bland. The second one is okay. I think it's saved by its villain. Because the villain is just so unbelievably stupid. You have to enjoy it for that.
I thought the reveal didn't quite go stupid enough if they were going to go stupid. Like, it was just facepalm. Like, I
This
felt
is-
like the story literally went nowhere.
Yeah, I think it's partly because of it being in a first-person perspective. If you run into something that stupid, your brain just kind of shuts down. I know, because I run into that kind of stupid on a daily basis. But,
Like,
yeah.
it's dumb. And the third one has one, like, over-the-top action scene in it that's just okay.
It's got River Shoulders actually kind of earning his reputation.
Yeah, we actually get to see a Janusqua in action, which is nice, but, I mean, it's just world building.
Yeah, not Janusqua.
We-
Sasquatch. Different.
Yeah, right.
Not unless you want to get turned inside out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Skin Game kind of established that. What was next? Bombshells. It was Andy, Justine, and Molly going out and doing some kind of cool stuff.
This one was funny,
Yep.
at least when I read it on its own. I liked it, but objectively, it's not a very good story.
No, although I got to say, I got a good laugh out of Molly's interpretation of the rack.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is the Girls' Night Out story, the obligatory short story, Girls' Night Out, and it's funny.
Mm-hmm.
It's entertaining, but it's not well written at all.
Yeah. And again, I think it's because it's Molly's perspective, and this is at the point where Molly is really just starting to get her life back together. After
It's also
everything.
like it's also the first story he wrote in Molly's POV, so he's still getting his footing with Molly in this story.
Yeah. Although the smartass is strong with that one as well. He seems to
Pretty sure
like
the
writing
smart-
smartasses.
Yeah, that's just Butcher.
Yeah. Like, the wizard's a smartass, the apprentice is a smartass, the dog is a smartass.
Yeah, like this is just a quirk of his
Yeah.
when he writes anything. But yes,
Yep.
so yes,
Jury Duty is the latest, well, almost the latest
haven't read
chronologically.
this one yet.
Yep.
They had it locked behind a paywall on something, and it was like impossible to get it to. There were people actively hunting down the links to downloads for it.
Yeah. So this one, Harry gets put up into jury duty, and of course, you know, supernatural shenanigans happens. So I'm not going to spoil that one too much because it's only a new story.
Yeah, that one I haven't. They people went out of their way to hide that short story. Like it was published as like, you know, the thing to tide us over about a year ago when this thing was supposed to be coming out.
I think it's
Tied
close
you
to
over,
2
huh?
years now. Oh, good grief.
Like when Briefcases was coming out in a month a year ago, you know, that was the story that was supposed to tide us over.
Yeah.
And people were religiously hiding it and killing any links to it so people couldn't read it early.
Yeah.
Unless they went through the paywall for it.
They got a bit militant about it, definitely.
Yes.
So, yeah.
So finding it was a nightmare.
So it was
so
fun.
I never read it.
It was fun, but it wasn't anything really special, I think. It's just kind of, oh, it's Harry doing a thing, being a little bit awkward, and then supernatural stuff happens, and he gets to be a wizard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yep. Cold Case. I actually forget almost entirely about this one. It didn't leave an impression. That's all I can
Is
say,
this the
really.
one in Alaska?
Mm,
No, Alaska's day one or whatever it's called. First day on the job.
No, that is actually the one set in Alaska. It's Molly as her first real duty as the new Winter Lady.
Don't
That's yeah. The book is old enough we can actually spoil some things of that from Cold Days. Skin Game we're not
The
going to spoil.
latest book is so old that it's like spoilers open.
It is actually out in spoiler season. Yeah.
Okay.
But
yeah.
So yeah, and you get to see Molly and Carlos Ramirez team up a bit.
I was about to say, Molly is not the star of this short story.
Ramirez is, yeah. He gets to go out and be cool.
This is all our favorite little pasty brown wizard.
Yeah.
Like,
although
how can he be pasty and brown?
He's Spanish-ish. Spanish
Ish.
as in born in San Francisco.
Yeah, like he's Spanish.
Yeah.
So.
But I really feel sorry for the guy at the end of it, but I'm not going to say why. And
yeah, it
doesn't.
It took a very serious turn at the end. Like,
yeah,
I didn't expect something going that funny, and just it was just a gag reel with laying out new rules for the setting and clearing up what the Winter Lady actually does. And then at the very end, it gets really dark, really fast.
Yeah, it's like everything is light and fun, and oh, this thing is happening, and it's kind of silly, and then oh no, it's dark.
Yeah, we know why Ramirez was out of commission for a while.
Yeah.
Poor
So
guy.
yeah, and then Mab turns up and is Mab.
Yeah, Molly is
Which
handled
could mean
much
anything,
better.
really.
That's probably the best description for Mab is she's just Mab. She's a force of nature.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
Though Butcher did a lot better with Molly in this one when I read it.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Much better than Bombshells. He's found a footing for Molly at this point.
Yeah.
So.
And she's kind of got her head together now. So yeah.
Yeah, Bombshells was a little bit of a mess with how he wrote Molly being in her head, but Day One in a Cold, or whatever this is called, I forget. It has several working titles and what the fans call it.
Yeah, Cold Case.
So, yeah, Cold Case.
Yeah, the next one is Day One, which is actually about Waldo Butters.
Yeah, this one. Because they're both first day on the job with a new role. You definitely don't want to talk about this one at all if All hasn't finished Skin Game yet.
Yeah, this is... He has finished Skin Game. So this is...
I read it in one day.
This is Butters in his new position. Jim Butcher actually does a bit of a blurb describing the history of Butters as a character. How he was supposed to be initially just a one-and-done gag character, and he kind of became his own thing. The pop culture is real with this one.
As is to be expected with
I
Butters.
don't like that. I don't like that, though, because it dates the story horribly.
Well, Butters calls it out at the time. Because it's... Without spoiling too much, because this is a spoiler from Skin Game, Butters has a new boss, I guess you could say. And his new boss...
The Force is strong with him, we'll say that.
Oh no, this
That's
one
plenty.
is... This isn't the Force is strong, this is the World of Warcraft is strong, because that's a medium that Butters understands.
Ah.
And Butters is rather incredulous when conventions from the game start popping up in the real world to get him to do things.
Now we know why Butcher hasn't been able to finish the book series.
He's playing WoW, yes.
He's been contaminated.
But
I'm going to
honestly,
all the WoW save everybody.
Oh boy. So it's a fun story. Butters gets his moments to shine, and he kind of goes down a bit of a dark hole and then digs himself out of it. There is a fight scene at the end that I would love to see animated, if only because the whole thing in universe is set to Weird Al Yankovic soundtracks. I'm not kidding.
Because he's like Polka Power, right?
Yeah, Butters actually pulls out his iPod and starts playing Weird Al while doing this fight to get himself hyped.
Huh.
But it's worth noting that
his polka.
he does. But it's worth noting that this story is narrated by Oliver Wyman, so the guy who did the Monster Hunter International series. So yeah, that was kind of off-putting hearing a different narrator who does something else that I like reading Dresden Files all of a sudden.
Yeah, I still have high hopes for this one because historically the ones involving the faction Butters is a part of now, all the short stories for that have been the best ones of the lot by not a small margin either, especially the one that focused on Michael.
Yeah, and I think you've just spoiled a good chunk of things there too, just with that name.
You don't know what could have been an antagonist for all you know. In fact, kind of was.
Yeah, it kind of was. Next, now the last two are, I think, probably the most fun. The Fistful of Warlocks is one about Anastasia Lucio in the Wild West. Because why not?
This one was a book, and it had a lot of authors I didn't like and didn't want to support, so I didn't read it.
Fair enough. So the story itself is a lot of fun. It's a younger Anastasia Lucio before she had the body swap, hunting warlocks in the Wild West, and she runs into a couple of well-known names. Ends up being almost deputized, I guess, because that's just kind of what happens. And ultimately kicks off a spin-off series where Anastasia hunts Kemmler. So that could be an entire new series that probably won't ever be made.
Yeah, this is the same thing with the Mouse and Maggie series, right? That we're totally going to get when Butcher actually sits down and writes books.
The most adorable series ever, yes.
Yeah, to get any of these series he talks about, he has to actually, write.
He has to write something. So yeah, that one's a lot of fun, and it fleshes out Anastasia's character a good chunk. The last book I found the most fun as well because, let's face it, it's Harry being adorable. Which is Zoo Day. Which is...
this is a brand new one. So
brand new one.
This one...
Yep.
This one's 100% exclusive to this thing.
Yes.
So I have not read this one, so no spoilers at all.
Nope. It is a Rakugo-style story. I believe it was Rakugo. So, it's 3 different protagonists, each seeing a bit more of the story than the last. Butcher doing Mouse's voice for this one, because Mouse gets his own point of view for this one. Previously, he's only voiced him for maybe 3 lines, and he just kind of had his generic deep voice he put on for it. This one, Mouse has a rather daft Tibetan accent.
What?
Yeah. Well, he's a Tibetan Mastiff, kind of.
I know, but
attempting
to do a Tibetan accent just seems like a thankless flourish, because I mean, first of all, how many people are going to recognize it as specifically Tibetan?
Yeah.
And how many people can actually convincingly do something specifically Tibetan?
No, exactly right. So it's a bit odd, and sometimes it kind of sleeps into Spanish, as in Mouse should have been named Alejandro.
so it's roughly as good as Aristeel.
But
we don't talk about all the accents I can't do.
Well, I mean, you can do a whole bunch of different accents. You just can't do the one you're intending to do.
Oh boy.
Yeah, I cannot intentionally produce an accent. It's a quirk.
I don't think anybody can, honestly. But
I do think Mouse would have some kind of quirky accent in his own head if he's writing stuff down on paper somehow.
Somehow.
Dog hands.
Well, Molly can understand him, so she can transcribe.
Maybe he does it on purpose to troll Molly. Like, if I was Mouse, I would.
But yeah, the thing is combined with Mouse's generally very positive outlook on everything, because he's a dog and he's happy about everything because he's with his peoples. He comes across as the wise but slightly gaga sensei type character. Just the way
sounds like Mouse.
The portrayal comes through. It is just a whole lot of fun. It doesn't really add anything to the story. It's just kind of dumb and fun. But if you ever considered that Maggie would be free of the Dresden Files weirdness, no, she's not.
No, she's growing up with Mouse. There's nothing normal about Mouse.
Yeah, Mouse is just awesome through the whole story.
You have a sentient
I think Mouse is probably the most
dog.
level-headed member of the cast. Everyone else has got issues.
No. Well, he would be if he wasn't so giddily happy a lot of the time.
Being happy isn't an issue the way it is for everybody else.
Yeah, think Iroh from The Last Airbender. And that will give you basically Mouse now. Where he's kind of happy and relaxed and calm and a little bit goofy a lot of the time until things get serious. In which case, he will do an ass to ears replacement.
Oh, Iroh.
I loved Iroh.
Oh, Korra was a thing.
Korra
It ruined
was regrettably
everything.
a thing. Go and watch the old series, and then if you still want more, go watch the Netflix Voltron series, because that's basically the same thing.
I have difficulty reconciling Iroh with Aku.
Yeah!
Like they're both
voice
the
actor.
same voice, and they both look so well.
Yeah, and they both... Well, actually, no, Aku is constantly chewing on the scenery. Iroh only does it occasionally. But, yeah. So, yeah, that's Briefcases. I highly recommend it, especially if you need to scratch that Dresden itch. Because he's not releasing a new book anytime soon. No.
We got at least another year before peace talks, folks. Anybody says sooner, I don't believe them.
I don't believe him. It's not happening. Alright, so I guess that's my weeks. So, Vol, do you have anything, sir?
Right. Well, not necessarily. I would like to have had, but it was a busy week this week at work as usual. But they're continuing to rearrange things in the hopes that they will come up with a solution that will not be terrible.
Yeah.
I have my doubts, to be totally honest. But at any rate, I needed to play a Muso game.
Yes.
I needed a Muso. So I, foolishly decided that I would pay full price for Dynasty Warriors 8, and it has, it has scratched the itch. It's a Dynasty Warriors game. It does all the Dynasty Warriors stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's got some things like, I don't know, I feel like that a lot of the things that they've done in Dynasty Warriors 8 are kind of
Pointless?
it's like the way YouTube changing its interface for no reason.
Yep.
Like they're just doing things to do them. Well, a lot of the modifications that they've made, the new mechanics they've added, they don't really seem to correlate to much of anything. They're just there. Like the system that they've introduced where you basically play rock, paper, scissors with your weapon type against opposing weapon types, like that's just, it doesn't serve any purpose, and it actually harms the play, I think, in a lot of situations. Because yes, number one, it gives you something else to look out for. But number two, basically that means that most fights, well, like half of the fights that you come up against, since you can equip two weapons, will basically be trivialized.
Mm-hmm.
Because all you need to do, unless that person is Lu Bu, all you need to do is chip down their spirit gauge thing and then obliterate them. Like,
Yep.
There's not really... It damages the integrity of the game, generally, I think.
Yeah, it's a mechanic that they've kept in Warriors games since.
Yeah, I don't see the point. I don't think it actually adds anything strategically, because you can only guess. Realistically, you can only guess, and sometimes there will be no right answer because there are a bunch of officers in one place.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
In which case, you just spam change weapon and you'll counter everything.
Yeah, you just basically have to keep countering. There's not really any option. You can't fight them in the conventional way, so you get wrecked. But yeah, it's one of those sorts of changes that I think doesn't serve a purpose except to have changed things. And also, I don't particularly like the kingdom focus on the stories. Like, I preferred when, like in 6, you could just pick a character and then play through all of the things they saw in the story and that sort of.
Mm.
But
The cast is
most
a bit
of all,
bigger now, though.
yeah, the cast is gargantuan. But I mean, back then it wasn't like every character had a story necessarily, and occasionally they had to make up some participation. But yeah, it's not bad, but it sort of frustrates me a little bit being forced to play particular characters, being forced to change all the time, and the fact that they made it optimal for leveling in a sense, because you level all of the characters involved to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
It also seems strange, but yeah. Overall, it's just a it's a Dynasty Warriors game doing Dynasty Warriors things. But generally speaking, I wish there was a manual. There's a lot I don't understand about how it works. Like they go, oh well, there's all these hypothetical scenarios and so forth.
Yeah,
And
but
I'm
some
like,
of the requirements to unlock those are a bit silly.
Yeah, well, I don't know how to unlock any of them. I haven't managed to unlock any of them yet.
I know there's a hypothetical. I haven't really looked too deep in them. There is one in the Wei campaign. If you can stop Dian Wei from dying.
Yeah, like, how do you even do that?
I don't know because normally he dies in the cutscene.
Yeah, like I played that as Jian Wei, and it's an obnoxious having 1/3 of your health bar available to do the entire back half of the mission. But
Yep.
I did it, and at the end I just killed over dead. Like,
Yeah.
well,
I don't think
Is
you
that-
can actually
is-
achieve
is
that
it-
one as Jian Wei.
yeah, I don't know. Like, the implication of the lines that take place is that there's a time limit, and if you can finish the entire mission, that is to say, fail all of the secondary objectives and rush to the finish. If you can do it in a certain time, then then you'll live. But I didn't manage to do that because I did the secondary objective because I didn't know if it was just story fluff or not.
Yeah.
But
But
yeah,
a
I don't
lot
know.
of the
I've-
hypotheticals of that, it's do something in a certain time, or prevent certain characters from dying, or route an advance in a certain direction. Those are the
There's a lot I
easy
don't know
ones.
about. There's a lot I don't know about how it works. Like I've done, for instance, today I did Yellow Turban Rebellion as Shu, and I did Yellow Turban Rebellion on free mode as Zhang Chunhua, who's my main. And the story played out differently, and I didn't do anything different. So I don't even know. I don't even know what controls things there. Because
I
like in the campaign one, I just ran up and executed the bad guy, and all the peasants were terrified of me. And that one, I spared him, and all the peasants liked me.
Okay.
So I'm not sure what actually changed things there. I think I must have like accidentally saved some peasants at some point or something. I don't know, but yeah, peasants.
Peasants. They're fickle creatures.
Yeah, so I don't know what controls a lot of the stuff that goes on in there. I don't know how. Like I've managed to in one of the Wei ones, I can see if I look at the map of scenarios, there's a loop where you can go straight from Battle of Guan Castle onto Battle of Guandu, rather than going via Battle of Xiapi. And I'm not really sure why. Like, I don't know what the conditions are. They aren't written down. So I have unlocked that loop, and I can see sort of like offshoots where I haven't unlocked a stage. There's clearly a way to complete it differently that changes the outcome. But yeah, I'm not really sure what to do. And it seems to me that without doing the level over and over again and trying all kinds of silly things, or without using a FAQ,
Yeah.
there's no way I can do them. Like there's the battle objective things, but I don't know which of those actually trigger things, if any of them. And a lot of them I don't even know how to do. Like there's often ones that say trick person X with a false message. Like, I don't know how to do that. How do I set that off?
Yeah.
Is there some trigger I have to go and stand on? Like I don't know how to do it. So yeah, that's a bit frustrating.
Half the time when I'm just playing through a mission, because I pick a direction and just murder everything in that direction.
Yeah, that's how you play Dynasty Warriors.
Pretty much, yeah.
But yeah, I don't know how it works in that sense. I don't really understand what you've got to do in order to unlock things or trigger things. I mean, that's always been a bit of an iffy scenario in Dynasty Warriors, where things are unlocked by doing very odd things. But yeah,
Gotta find
Luba's
the
like,
nuance in your mass murder.
Huh?
Oh, I'm lagging again, but yes, am I back?
Kind
Finally?
of.
Pickle.
Pickle?
I was saying,
You're back.
Pickle. I was saying you got to find the nuisance in your mass murder.
Yeah, well,
I don't know.
Right. So I mean, it's a good Muso filler in. I'm still salty that 9 turned out to be so bad that I've received universally negative opinions about it. So yeah,
And they're still charging full price for it for some reason.
yeah, but it's cheaper on PSN than on Steam. Like what?
Yeah. Why?
That was really strange. I don't know if it's on special because like it might be on special on Steam right now since the Steam sale is running.
No, it's not.
Which would oh, if it was, it would fit with my usual fortunes, but I guess it's a Dynasty Warriors game, and there seem to be certain games that get ported to Steam that just it is on special. It is on special, and it's like way cheaper than I paid for it. So
Right.
yeah, that's the logical outcome of me spending money on something is it will immediately be cheaper elsewhere. But yeah, at any rate, it's I don't really have much else to say about it other than it's a Dynasty Warriors game because it plays like all of the other ones more or less.
It is most certainly Dynasty Warriors.
A few fiddled around bits. Although the opinion of the people that developed it was that they felt like they didn't iterate enough to justify giving it an 8. But, yeah, when they do iterate enough to justify another number, it becomes terrible. So how about we don't do that?
Yeah, just stick with the classic, thank you.
Yeah. So what I've spent most of the past my sinuses are a bit iffy. Sorry.
Ugh.
What I spent most of the past couple of weeks on is probably Fate Grand Order again because the Onigashima event is running.
Mm-hmm.
And Onigashima is the first raid event which is accessible to people who are plebeian like me.
Yes.
As opposed to people who have monstrous lineups, monstrous rosters, and have cleared all of the story.
Monstrous bank accounts.
Yeah, well, for some people, yes. And
Yeah.
other people are just Ari. But
Some people just get all the luck in the gacha.
But yeah, the most noticeable thing about initially is how quickly it came, because they are really stepping up the pace on these events. Like it's just back to back to back to back to back.
I wish
A lot
they'd
of the
stop for a
people-
bit.
I mean, I wish they'd stop for a bit, but imagine how the people who actually participated in Rashomon feel at this point.
Yeah.
Because Rashomon immediately preceded Journey to the West, immediately preceded Onigashima, and you just go from grind to grind without a break.
And then we've got the Camelot
the
launch
people-
coming up next, don't we?
Yeah, but the Camelot launch won't have like special content or anything. And
No.
presumably they'll give people time to actually play it. But the rumor is the anniversary event has been pushed to follow Camelot so that the servants that appear in it make sense. So Camelot will come out with a certain amount of immediacy, and the whatchamacallit event, the anniversary event, is going to be on the 7th by most people's prediction.
Right.
And the anniversary event will come in immediately before the summer event, generally. And considering it is the middle of the winter here now, presumably it is the middle of the summer in the Northern Hemisphere, that means that we're probably going to, we'll probably get like a week or two's breather, maybe for Camelot.
If
And
we're
then
lucky.
we'll be straight into the summer event, which is another large scale event like Onigashima. It's not a raid event. It's a weird island building thing.
Huh.
But
Okay.
like you have to like pick different buildings to put on the island or something. I don't know. There's a lot I don't know about it. Hopefully it will become clear. But yeah, that's another major event with another welfare servant that which is Scathach Assassin, who is, I think, regarded as relatively mediocre as far as welfares go, especially compared to Shiki and Kentoki, who are both very, very good. But yeah, that one is liable to follow hot on the heels of the anniversary event.
Yeesh.
The anniversary event is basically getting a whole pile of free stuff for the most part. There's a whole bunch of different banners and a whole pile of free stuff.
I like free stuff.
Yeah, I think like the anniversary event, I think everybody gets 30 Saint Quartz straight up. And there's a bunch of like, if you log in every day, you'll get like a bunch of like friend points and summons and whatnot sort of during the event. And there's a bunch of banners as well, like throughout the event. Like I think there's a banner for each chapter, each singularity, where all of the things on that singularity will be rate up.
Nice.
And then there's the lucky bag, which is if you spin the gacha with paid quartz, you'll get a guaranteed 5-star from one of two lists.
That means spending money.
Yeah, and Saint Quartz is not any cheaper today than it was last time. Like it's super
Nope.
super expensive. But I'll
The-
probably still be tempted by
It's like
it because
$35 for one spin of the gacha for a 10 spin.
That's generous. That's generous. Like,
Yeah.
more like 40 or 50. Like it's only like 60 odd for me. Like it's a lot. It's expensive because only
Mm.
paid quartz work, not free quartz that you get with paid quartz. So
What?
you've
Like,
got to go for the expensive package.
just to put in perspective how expensive St. Quartz is, Vol is the biggest crazy fan of Type Moon that I know, and he hadn't bought any, as far as I know.
Yeah.
No, I've never bought any, and I won't, except for the lucky bag ones, because I need some 5-star power, to be quite honest. Like the odds are, based on previous experience, the odds are that I will get Drake, which is like a super booby prize. In
Literally.
every sense of the word. Because Drake is like by far the most terrible servant on the list. But even with the most terrible servant on the list, she's got enough hit points to survive things that my servants can't.
hmm
So
I would just
Yeah.
give you mine if I could. I'm never going to level her. She has
Yeah.
level 2 Noble Phantasm.
yeah, well, at any rate, it's something that I'll probably be tempted into because I've not spent any money on the game to date, but I've gotten at least as much entertainment out of it as I have from games that I do spend money on, so I probably won't feel too bad about it. But and I also know that there are people in this world who spend literally thousands on it.
Yeah.
I'm not
The
in that
old-
category.
The
at
old
least.
whales.
Yeah.
The people
Serious
with more money
business,
than sense.
Yes.
A lot more money than sense in Grand Order's case.
Oh my
Yeah,
yes.
the reality is that St. Quartz is expensive because people will pay that much for it. So
It's got
Yeah.
the feet badge on it. They're going to happily fork over money for it. Just to get their
But
way.
yeah,
Fate
only
waifus are, Fate waifus are at a premium apparently in the waifu market.
Yes.
yeah, premium is right. But the Onigashima event itself, I've enjoyed very much. It is very, very much better than the Journey to the West one, which is a surprise to nobody since Journey to the West was awful. But
Yeah.
Onigashima has been much, much more entertaining. It's focused around the major raid battles, and particularly for somebody who's so far under strength, like me, to devise tactics to be able to obliterate these things is quite fun.
Mhm.
Finding a particular combination of servants that I actually have access to that are able to bring these things down and see how high you can get your numbers. Like I think my record was 1.777 million damage.
Yeah.
So yeah. It's been entertaining. Everybody is like in full on conspiracy mode trying to determine whether or not the raid boss health is being manipulated directly or whether it actually correlates to what the player base is doing, and nobody can agree on it.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
The story is completely ridiculous from top to tail. Just absurd.
Tamamo just seems
Totally
to turn
absurd.
up there just to be jealous about things.
Well, yeah, she showed up because she wasn't in the protagonist party, and she was upset that she didn't get to appear.
Yes.
So, and Kiyohime shows up because she's crazy. So,
She's just there.
Best Snake has been very helpful to me. Kiyohime has carried me through most of the content, in fact. Despite being a mediocre 3-star berserker, she has punched way above her weight in this event.
hmm
And in fact, I am using her as my major method of clearing the summit, Rakshasa difficulty summit battle. Which
Nice.
is the main method of farming materials to buy things from the event shop if you don't have fancy craft essences to boost your drop rates. So
Yeah.
it's been a fun event. It's much better design than any of the previous ones. You can play for quite a length of time at a stretch if you want to, without needing to spend anything to refill, because you've got two different currencies as far as energy is concerned. You've got the AP and the BP, and you can just do BP while AP is recharging, do AP while BP is recharging, or whatever.
Yeah.
And you get a pile of gold apples, you get a pile of dumplings which restore BP rather than AP. So you could just sit down and play if that was your thing, if you wanted to do that. yeah, it's been a good event. I've enjoyed it. I've had fun with it. I've gotten very, very annoyed at the AI's relentless persecution of my berserkers, but
They do not like berserkers.
yeah, but yeah, I've enjoyed it. Currently, the main event has been cleared, which means that everybody has access to a permanent copy of Kentucky, and clearing the event, just doing the story quest to clear the event will get you like a couple summon tickets, 10 Saint Quartz, and access to that welfare servant. So it's pretty worth doing. But yeah, I haven't gotten all of the copies of Kentucky yet. I think I still have one more to get. But the biggest fly in the ointment with this event is that getting the tokens to get stuff from the shop is ridiculously difficult compared to previously. Because in, say, Kara no Kyokai, I tended to have enough, generally speaking, of craft essences to get each of the things that I needed. Like, the farming was much easier. You required less tokens and you had more access to craft essences to get them. At least that's what I feel was. And I was all right in Fate Zero because I had gotten enough of craft essences there as well to sort of adjust things in my favor. This time I don't have any to speak of, except for the lowest ranked material, which requires an absolutely catastrophic amount of tokens. So yeah, it's a difficult one to clear the shop on. I don't know if they felt like people are being too cavalier about being able to clear the shop, so we need to up the costs of everything or what. But yeah, I'm not particularly doing very well with that. But the important thing, of course, is to get the craft essences, because the event craft essence from this event is actually really, really good. Even outside of the event, it still gives you straight up 50% Noble Phantasm charge and a 15% attack damage increase. So it's really powerful. And getting the copies of the Welfare Servant is also important. So yeah, that's consumed a lot of my free time playing games on my phone. I'm so ashamed.
I know, right? You pleb.
Yeah. So yeah, and in that vein, basically, like, I look at the Steam sale that's going on right now, and I'm like, I've got all these games on my Steam list, and I really, really do want to play them, but when would I do that? When would I do that? So yeah, everything is on special, and I could buy it. I have the dosh to do so. But if I did, then what would I do?
Yeah. Typically, of course, for a Steam sale, there is some janky mechanic attached to it, and in this case, it's another janky and easily exploitable Flash game.
I didn't understand your explanation at all, to be honest.
From what I can tell, it racks up basically entries in the prize draw, depending on how long you sit on one of the planets. So you pick one of the planets that has the prize you want. You fight one game in there, and then you just let it sit in the browser to accrue entries. And that's it.
Why? Is there anything good?
Dragon Ball Fighter. That's about the only really good thing I saw in there.
Will only be given to one person.
I don't know how many they're actually giving out, but yeah, probably.
The bajillions of accounts on Steam.
Like, yeah, from your explanation, this is
running like 50,000 accounts in order to get a free game.
Yeah,
because they can just bot it.
Yeah, like, unless this is an individual roll per account, there is no reason to do this, because I guarantee you're not winning against people that have got 10 computers open doing this all at the same time. With multiple instances of Steam going on every single one. Like, this is not
50 Steams. Like, there are people out there who literally have thousands of times more chance than you. So it doesn't seem worthwhile.
Yeah, these events rarely are.
I feel like the former deep discounts on Steam games are not nearly as deep this time.
No, they're a bit more in line with reality, I guess.
Yeah, I guess that they're tired of copping flack from people over it. People being people who are not customers.
Yes.
Because things are...
Yeah, well, they
he's gone.
already don't want to... No, I'm still here. We just bumped into each other because of lag. So that's
oh, dear.
But I stopped talking.
And now it's all lagging. Everything is horrible forever.
But yeah,
That's-
most of the things up here are not significantly discounted enough to make me splash on them. Like most
Mhm.
of the things that are on my Steam list are still 25 of my New Zealand dollars or more.
Yep.
Which
Yeah,
is
that's
in the category that I have to know that I'm going to sit down and put a good chunk of hours into before I will just buy it. But
Yeah.
there are a lot of games that I really, really want on this list, but they're just like 20% off, 25% off, 30% off.
Yeah.
So,
I could be persuaded to buy Shadow of Mordor just because of Bruce and $20.
Bruce.
Bruce the Orc at $20. It sounds like a pretty good deal to me.
Yeah, but I feel like
But-
there's not really much hurry though, because I mean you know that game is good. Like if you look at the other Mordor game
Oh yeah.
and the sort of prices that hit, if you don't have time to play it right now, I mean,
Just wait for the next sale. Yeah, it's coming to come again.
Yeah. Like
it will eventually fall under $5.
Yes,
Yeah.
I could go and harvest all those Neptunia games, but I have a mountain of Neptunia games to play.
That is a
only ones
mountain that
are-
never shrinks.
No, well, yeah, because they release them faster than I can play them,
Yes.
which is sort of impressive. And plus, I've got all the other ones that are very similar to the Neptunia games that are made by associated companies like the Fairy Fencer ones and that.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I've got piles and piles of stuff to play. I've got a pile of Neptunia spin-offs. Like, there's a lot of that stuff to play still. And,
Play them all
like,
to discover who is
thing-
the top nep.
The ones that really tempt me though are like the Trails ones, like Trails in the Sky,
Mhm.
second and third chapter, Trails of Cold Steel.
Yeah,
1 and 2.
but
they're all super excellent RPGs, like really good. But I
they're
need to
not
sit
on
down and
sale
hammer
very
like
much either.
they're not on sale very much, and the sales are usually shallow. And that's
Yeah.
the reason why I'm tempted by them. But the
They're
sales are
whopping
shallow this time.
30% off. Woo.
Yay.
Yeah, the sales are pretty shallow this time as well. But like, that's what makes me want to buy them, is that they're very rarely on decent sales. But the thing that makes me want to not buy them is the fact that I would need to sit down and hammer 50 hours into each of those. So when am I going to do that? I'm pretty sure I haven't touched Berseria yet. It's still sitting there waiting for me to play it.
Like, do you want to buy stuff just to put it in queue? Like, it.
My queue is so long, so painfully long.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, I bought you now. Go wait in line. I'll get to you in about 2 years if you're lucky. Is how things generally go now.
We really need to work on a master plan to be able to just play video games and get paid for it.
We can
Ugh,
become
that
YouTube
would-
sensations. It just means you have to sell out your dignity.
I don't want anything to do with YouTube partners or sponsorships.
No,
TBH.
no, thank you. That sounds like a rabbit warren of madness.
Yeah. But just flipping through the Steam sale, it's just the sale prices are not good enough to jump out and be like, this is a good Steam sale. It's like, oh, it's just the
They're close enough to tempt you, but not enough to just make you buy.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like,
like-
in the past we've seen 80, 90% off, and it's in those cases it's just blind buy.
Now, if you stack that on top of their changes to the policy for buying things for people overseas, like
Mhm.
yeah.
surely they're seeing a downturn at this point.
That's what I was trying to get at when we bumped into each other. Like, they're doing their God-given best to lose money.
But maybe they're not. Like, that's the thing. We can't see what's going on their side of the bench.
Yeah.
We don't. Maybe we just have a really weird sort of perspective on what people actually are willing to spend. Like, because I can't bring myself to even fit inside my head the shape of a person who spends $2,000 on every Grand Order banner.
Yeah.
But those people do exist. And so I don't know what people think is normally okay to just blow a pile of money on a Steam sale. I mean, you could justify to yourself that the big ones only come around 2 to 4 times a year.
Mhm.
But
And
they
once you
also
bought
come
all of
around
them-
2 to 4 times a year. That's a lot of times a year.
Yeah, well, I mean, maybe I'm talking about. I'm not really talking about reality. I'm talking about internal self-justification, right? Which has very little connection to reality.
Yes, it
But
does.
but yeah, like maybe people just blow huge amounts of cash even now, and it just doesn't matter to them. Maybe there are so many people living in America who don't believe the rest of the world exists to begin with.
Australia doesn't exist.
The ban on effective ban on buying things for people in other countries just doesn't move them. Like it doesn't change anything about their habits whatsoever. There are a lot of reasons why they could be turning even more money off, just because people's spending habits might be different than what we feel that they are based on our personal experience. Because like all of us, work full time, but none of us are rich.
Mm-hmm.
Like we're all pretty poor, all told, and that's the reality we live in, is that we don't have FU money.
I would love FU money.
So we think about what we spend our money on. Maybe most people don't, either because they have mom's credit card or because they just have more dosh, period end.
Mm.
I wish I had that much dosh. Just be able to buy whatever you want, not have to budget anything. Unlimited monies.
Just irresponsible levels of money.
I'm suspicious that would rot something about you, but I'm not quite sure what. If that stopped being a concern entirely, would you stop understanding that it was a concern for other people?
Probably, but that's the dream, right? Just unlimited monies.
Well, maybe your projects just get bigger.
That's what I would think.
Maybe.
You have to find something to be productive with, or you're going to go insane. So,
well, no, I'm not going to say it.
At any rate, this has got rather off track and philosophical, so I'll just end my week there. I don't think I've seen anything on the animes which are worth talking about, really. I mean, I've started finishing them. We're coming to that point in the season.
Mm-hmm.
Like I finished Record of the Grand Quest War, which was a mess, frankly, but I enjoyed it.
It's a fun mess.
Yeah, it was a fun mess. It had massive pacing problems. Was really it had problems along every axis, but it was sort of like an even. It was like not a. It was like how do I say? It was not an even blend of good and bad that made it average. It was like had shining standouts and utter stinkers just mingled together. It wasn't a coherent alloy. So there was a lot to enjoy about it, and I really enjoyed those things that I enjoyed about it, even though there were some things that just didn't quite work at all. But yeah, I mean, it ended with a double ending, a double wedding, and a happily ever after, which is basically my favorite kind of ending. I don't like down endings. I think that they're just cheap, basically. But
Sequel hook. Ugh.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought that was okay, but I wouldn't recommend it as a must-see. If you've got the time to watch it, I think it's worth a watch, because you'll work out pretty quickly if you want to keep watching it. But yeah. What else is coming to an end? They've had, as of like, they've had two what do they call them? For some reason it's escaping me. But they've had 2 clip shows of the new Full Metal Panic season so far. Like, really? You've made so little story progress. They have like 4 episodes, and then they'll have another flashback one.
Why would you?
I don't know. Maybe they're having difficulty with the production and they need to slow it down or something. But or maybe they planned it like that from the start. It's hard to say. Not every series is as convenient as Recreators, where the flashback episode is narrated by a character who informs you that there aren't any production problems. You don't need to worry. We planned this from the start. so yeah.
Yeah.
The weirdest one though was, I think, that I've watched so far is I've fallen a bit behind on last period, but episode 9 was unbelievably weird.
That show from start to finish so far has just been completely bonkers.
I won't spoil it because it's such a ridiculous twist that rounds it out at the end. But the entire episode is played totally straight as the bad guys get a new robot employee who's better than the regular employees, and eventually decides that they are better than everybody and will take over the world. That type of like really, really super generic plot.
Mm-hmm.
And you are led the entire time to think, oh, well, this is another one of those generic episodes which don't really have anything special. And then the last couple minutes, they do the punchline.
The stupid happens.
The punchline is incredibly stupid, but I still laughed uproariously because it was so unexpected, and I should have seen it. I could have seen it. I don't think you can guaranteed converge on that answer, but I don't think anybody would.
Oh dear.
I don't think anybody would conclude what the punchline is going to be ahead of time, because the punchline is so far out of left field. just watch it. You've got to watch it. It's just so stupid.
I think I will watch it, because I've watched some of that show, but honestly, it is just a great big ball of roiling stupid, that whole thing.
Yeah, it's really stupid, but I find it really entertaining.
Yeah.
At least it's not Pop Team Epic.
That show, it's memes. It's memes the anime.
Yeah. Which I'm sure means that it'll go down in history as being incredible, but yeah. The upcoming season, frankly, doesn't particularly amuse me based on the look of the thing. Like, everybody's talking about the new FLCL, which, like, 9 for 10 will bomb because you can't suddenly wind back the clock 18 years and get the post-Evangelion insanity congeal again. Like, that's what they're attempting to do sounds impossible, so I doubt that it'll be any good.
Yeah.
The new season of Attack on Titan's coming out, meaning people will hail the season as great regardless. And then it's just an enormous cluster of like really weird crap and really crappy sounding isekai knockoffs. Like, it looks to be a really bad season from the outside.
I
We'll
wish
have to
this
wait and see.
isekai bubble would burst already.
I wouldn't mind if they were any good. The problem is that most of them are not.
Yeah, that's it. They're not. You'll get the one shining standout series, and then the rest is crap.
Yeah. And they're often really bad crap as well.
Yeah.
They haven't even tried.
Another world with my smartphone.
There's one this season which is about a guy who goes to another world with his smartphone and does the same thing with his smartphone.
But we just did that! And it was
Yes,
rubbish!
I know. Yes, it was.
Ugh.
I love when new genres crop up in any piece of media.
So, isekai with a smartphone is now a new genre.
Yeah, apparently so. But yeah,
Oh,
it
so-
was. I mean, if you wind back the clock, a decade and a half or more, like into the 2000s, into the aughts, like it was harem shows, right?
Yep.
Everything was a harem show. You couldn't get away from them. You
We
wind
had-
the clock forward 3 or 4 or 5 years, and it was moe shows. It was just all sad girls dying in snow all the time.
Yeah.
But-
Thank you, Martika.
But,
Love you, Clanad. Clanad was awesome.
Clanad was one
But,
good
yeah.
one. And again, mountains and mountains of garbage.
Yeah. Well, I need to go to the bathroom, so I'm going to call that the end of my week.
Alright then, we should probably take a break.
We should. So here's some music. During the break, I'm going to make sure my internet's stable because I'm not entirely convinced it is.
Oh dear.
So we will be right back, folks. Here's some music.
People are terrible at naming subgenres, and we got stuck on a tangent in the break.
We
Yeah,
kind
like,
of.
the tangenting doesn't stop when we go off the air, you guys.
It tends to be a little bit less family friendly occasionally, but that's about it.
Yes.
Uh,
Please stop making new subgenres for everything, or if you're going to make one, give it a name that makes sense and don't hijack an old name.
Keep it something nice and broad.
Or just something that makes sense and isn't subjective.
Souls-like is not a genre. Stop it.
It's subjective. We can't do that. It needs a better name.
Yeah, like you can't make a genre out of something being like another thing.
Third-person
It has to be,
action
well,
game.
This genre has this set of attributes. Like if you say third-person action game, the only things it needs to have is third-person and action.
Yeah.
Like if you say Dark Souls like, well, I mean, what part of it has to be like Dark Souls in order for it to be Dark Souls like?
It's either got to be gritty, kind of difficulty, or some degree of edgy.
Or it could just be that the combat is obnoxiously slow and you hate every second of it.
There
Like,
could be that
there's lots
too.
of games like that.
Yeah.
Right.
And even non-games, like
Basically-
Dark Souls Souls-like is being applied to things that are not games, like books and movies. Stop it!
But I mean, like, you can't even use the slow combat thing because, like, Bloodborne is held by most people to be a Dark Souls type game because it is a direct descendant. But
Yeah.
it plays entirely differently. The combat is very fast,
A lot more
and
fast, a lot more
very
fluid.
aggressive.
Mm.
Like, if you aren't aggressive, you get shanked.
You get mulched.
You'll just run out of health eventually.
Like, yeah, you could call them like precision action games or something.
Mm.
Something that makes more
But they're
sense
not.
than
They're not.
basing
They're
it
not
on
really that precise. Like, I mean, and are they more precise than playing Devil May Cry on Dante Must Die?
Well, we're not talking about, a perfect name here. We're just talking about something that isn't named after the game itself.
Well, this is what I'm saying: is that there's no attribute in there that is singled out as being the thing that made Dark Souls Dark Souls. Like, if you ask one of these people to describe Dark Souls, they won't be able to. That's the problem.
Yeah, like this. Yeah. Anyway,
Anyway,
probably finish up the weeks.
yeah, so get into it, Ari.
Okay. So I guess we'll start at the beginning of the last 3 weeks. So my downish time was not as down as I would have liked it to be. I had quite a bit of work to do these past 3 weeks, despite not having to be there from literally all day. And I was off call most of the evenings, so that was nice. So I actually had time to sit down and play video games. So I wrapped up Strange Journey first. And there's not much more to add on top of what I did talk about last time. It's okay as a story. It is obnoxious as a game the whole way through. I've already ranted about it, and it was not good times playing the game. I really wish I just YouTubed it instead.
Ugh.
I cannot give it I can't give anybody a real recommendation to try it, despite it being the sacred cow of the S&T franchise in the fan base. I didn't like it.
Hmm.
Like, as a game, I don't think it's good. As a story, it's okay, but some of the new endings fall flat on their face. Like, the new law ending is just like, instead of a world of silence, as is usual when the law ending happens in S&T, you get a world where humans lose all ability to take any kind of physically violent actions. And, like, this is treated as a good ending, and people are actually saying this is a good idea. I'm like, you do know that the demons are a real thing that are going to invade the Earth again, right?
You kind of need to fight those.
In this universe, there is something that's actually going to ruin this for you. And that's just on the surface level. It goes much deeper than why it's a bad idea.
Does the story regard this possibility? Does it, like, say, oh man, we really screwed the pooch on this one. How are we going to stop the demons next?
It adds a cliff note after the ending CG has already shown up. Like, but it doesn't, like, it treats it as a better ending. Like, you did a good thing doing this. I'm like, no, I didn't. The Earth is doomed.
You've ruined everything, you fool.
The new neutral ending is basically, in the old game, you stopped the Schwartz from taking over the world, and you blew it up.
Every day
If
you
you
say
got the
that, I
new-
just think of Spaceballs.
I know, right?
I call it that because I can't say like Schwarzwelt or whatever they call it. But yeah, so the Schwartz gets blowed up, and the new one, it gets blowed up again. But this time, instead of the AI companion buddy sacrificing himself to blow it up, you live with him forever on the moon and blow it up every time it shows up.
You what?
Because apparently blowing the thing up with several nukes and the power of like 5 cosmic eggs isn't enough to stop this thing. You have to keep doing it every time it shows up.
You could just explode it more.
Well, that's effectively what you do. You wind up living on the moon with your AI buddy inside his little robot suit, and you just wait for this thing to show up, and he's like, oh, it's back. Okay, we gotta go. And
You'll blow it up again.
Jumps. Yeah, the ending takes place after the 7th time you've done it. It's like, oh, the dude on the moon is just like, yeah, this is the 7th instance. Let's do it again.
So you're going to live forever and keep doing this?
Yeah, you effectively become a system of the Earth protecting it.
Right. That does not sound like a good ending.
Not for you, but
No.
the Earth gets to keep going. So, in that sense, it's the best ending.
You just blow it up a lot bigger, like more explosion. When it's blown up, keep blowing it up. Ah.
But yeah. But something completely out of SMT character happens in the new Law and New Chaos endings, though.
Oh.
Alex, the girl from the future, whose history/future is nebulous and kind of a Schrodinger's backstory kind of deal, depending on what route you take, it changes. She's actually able to talk sense into the Law or Chaos rep of the game and say, you're an idiot. Like, she just straight up tells the Law rep that she's an idiot and gets her to stop following the clearly suspicious angel dude who's been way too eager to help her out.
Right.
So that's how she at least gets her to not put the world in, a brainwashed world of silence where half the population is immune to the brainwashing effect and gets hunted down. And the chaos route is, world of chaos, everybody kills each other. But
everything is doomed.
But she's like, you sacrificed your human self to save somebody, right? So this world of the strongest rules isn't really going to work, right? And he's like, oh, well, I guess I should actually make it so humans could actually fight back instead of just running the world over with demons. That would probably be a good idea. So it goes from a horrible, terrible scenario to just a horrible scenario if you go Law or Chaos.
Right.
I just don't understand why they're so married to this particular way of ending the game. Like that, surely it's old hat by now.
Yeah, well, this is a remake. Like, so I can understand sticking kind of close to the old themes and stuff. But yeah.
I mean, for like SMT in general, though, because it's always the same. Like, it's just varying degrees of boneheadedness.
They lampshade it in Devil Survivor 2, but it's the only one I've seen explicitly pointed out. So, and Apocalypse doesn't even give you the option. Their Law and Chaos are treated as just bad ends. You lose out on two. You lose out on 2 whole dungeons in that game if you go Law or Chaos.
Oh dear.
So, let's see. So that was that. I don't recommend the game. I cannot think of anybody I would say you should go play this game.
Do you hate
Not a
yourself?
single
Play this
person.
game.
Yeah, if you hate yourself and like tedious mapping, do it. I 100% map that game.
Why?
It sounds like the sort of thing that people online will constantly tell each other they have to play.
Yeah, as an SMT fan, like as Vol is to Type Moon, I am to SMT when I'm in my mood for it. So this happens, and I had not played Strange Journey, and it was the sacred cow of the franchise.
That's
Given
because it
those,
wasn't released
those
in the
factors,
West.
I felt, yeah. Given those factors, that I had to finish that game eventually. So I did. I 100% of the game, all the endings, all the new endings anyway, and 100% mapped the whole dang thing in a first-person dungeon crawler. That was a nightmare. Had to step on every single trap tile. Was not fun.
Ugh.
Saves and reloads everywhere. Just... I can't imagine what this game was like without the quality of life adjustments. Like, I just can't. And especially with the old encounter rate of something like an encounter every 10 steps. Like, no, thank you. I don't know why this game is so beloved. It does not play well at all. So, that's that.
It's over.
So-
you don't need to think about it anymore.
It's done.
Done.
It's finished.
It's donezo. Also, so fun. There's a side story that goes on with this. Once I finished the game, I wanted to find some people to discuss the game with, but everybody was caught up in asking about the Redux version of the game and what was in it and where to find stuff, and it made searching for crap impossible about this game when you're looking for just discussions about it. So I had the bright idea of, okay, you know what? I'll just stick something on the game pad. Oh, whoa, I'm lagging.
No. I'm just remembering how this ended.
Right. So when people go for help in a game and ask this crap, what website do they go to? GameFAQs, right? Well, I'm not going to write a proper FAQ. Forget that. I'm not keeping it updated and organized. This is going to be a one and done thing, right? So I'll just drop it in the board for this game. That'll be fine. And just leave this here, and it'll be a place where people can, accidentally stumble upon while Googling it, and this will curb some of the people asking questions and make it easier to search for discussions. So
Nope.
I took 3 and 4 hours and just typed up what was in the news content that they added to the game. And I posted it to the GameFAQs board, and I'm like, okay, that's fine. It's a draft of it. I'll let people fill in the blanks, and I'll go edit it later. I learned something very important. GameFAQs takes away the edit button after 2 hours after you post a post
Yep.
on the boards. So there is no going back to edit it. So all the
I don't post very much on GameFAQs and forums except to beg for waivers. So
yeah. So I have this big giant helpful post that's the most upvoted post on the Strange Journey Redux board, but it's full of comma splice errors and missing information, and the super boss section is flat wrong because I copy pasted the wrong bosses in there on the Japanese website because they weren't labeled correctly. So I noted that in a post later in the thread, but I can't go back and edit it.
Oh boy, it's kind of dumb. You'd think they'd at least allow you to do something to that degree, or at the very least warn you.
Yeah, you would think, but this is apparently something you should just know. I do not post on the GameFAQs stuff boards ever.
Do you get the authority to edit later if you move up in user level?
I thought so, but I'm like at 100 karma, and from that post, that one guide post thing I did, and I can't do anything. So, and that's fairly high karma from what I've seen.
Oh yeah, my karma's like 36 because I never post.
I never post on GameFAQs. I ain't going to either. You can't make me.
So, what seemed like a good idea. So yeah, in retrospect, not such a good idea. But there's no way I could have known that they would just take the edit button away. Oh, so that was a nightmare. But it's only 3 to 4 hours of my life. I can live with that being wasted. I wasted a lot more actually beating the game. So.
Right.
So,
next.
Next up is I had been tired of tedium and wanted something genuinely challenging after slogging my way through Strange Journey, which was a slog the whole way. After you get over the initial hump and figure the game out, it's really, really easy. So I was digging around and thinking, I'm like, well, there is one more game on the 3DS that I didn't get around to because when it was released, it was sold in parts.
Yeah.
And this made me not play it on principle, but I still had a used copy of 1/3 of the game sitting around. And the other two were on deep discount at the time when I was just flipping around and just messing around on the 3DS. So I popped in Fire Emblem Fates Conquest. Now, I've played both the GBA Fire Emblems. I played Awakening. I played, both the GameCube Fire Emblems. I did not play the Wii one. I played a PC version of it, though. and it was very heavily modified with the script rewritten. So I did not play the same Radiant Dawn as you guys.
No. Okay.
But it was still Radiant Dawn. The game at least was still the same. I played all the GBA games, all 3 of them that we got in the West, and I played Fire Emblem 6 with the fan patch.
Right.
So effectively, I had played Fire Emblem 6 through 11. I didn't play Shadow Dragon. I skipped that one because it was a remake, and I had not played Shadows of Valentia. But my history with the series is pretty dang good. And I say this because I'm about to beat the ever-living snot out of Fates. Now, so given that I have a history with the series, when I first got the game, over a year ago now, it feels like, I got the Conquest version. And Conquest is where you play as not Europe, and in totally not Europe, the rules are the same as the GBA games, where you cannot grind, you cannot go back to chapters you've already completed, you have to distribute your experience appropriately and keep your units as many alive as possible, and know when to cut your losses. Which means you reset the game every time anybody dies and just redo the whole chapter.
Yes. That's the correct way to play Fire Emblem.
Yes. So that's how Conquest works. I think there's a DLC you can get for it, but I'm not giving them any more money for this game, so I'm not going to check. And honestly, I don't want to ruin the experience for myself anyway. So, Fates. So the first thing when you think of Fire Emblem, at least for me, because I didn't start with Awakening. I started, with Smash, and I saw Marth and Roy, and I'm like, I want to know who these characters are. And then Fire Emblem came out in the West. I'm like, oh, I'm going to finally figure out who Roy is. And he shows up in the epilogue as the kid of the guy you were just playing as. And that's the only time we see him in the West.
Yeah.
And this was after a really, really honking hard game, too. For a kid playing Fire Emblem 7, it's not an easy game. It took me months to beat it. So I have that going there. You boot up the game, and you're thinking, okay, I'm thinking a decent story. The plot's going to be a little simplistic, but it's going to have a lot of characters that are interesting and well-written and developed. Awakening was kind of waifu-ish, and fortunately I knew this one had Awakening elements. I'm like, maybe the core story will make up for it, though, because Awakening was really, really bland. It was just the plain white bread of the Fire Emblem games. The main plot might as well not have been there. It was just, there is a dragon. The dragon is bad. Go kill the dragon.
That's a classic.
It is a good old classic story.
In the mold of St. George.
Yes.
This game is like that same plain white bread, except it's moldy. And kind of stinks.
Marvelous.
Delicious.
This time, so barring Awakening, every Fire Emblem has the trope of at least two kingdoms are in conflict, not necessarily because one is solely at fault. One is not an aggressor in most cases. There's one or two where that's an exception. So they try to play this trope through, like there is something wrong with the king of not Europe, and he is invading the holy not Japan land. I've installed a mod to replace all instances of Hoshido and Nor with various versions of incredibly racist names for places in Europe and Japan, and it is hilarious. So they try to play this like, oh, it's totally this evil force corrupting this guy, and you just got to deal with it and go with the situation and make the best of it and try to get the best, happiest ending you can. But the problem is, your character's an idiot, and so is everybody else that follows him on no matter which path you go through. There are so many times in this story where I'm like, the king's an idiot. He's some demonic monster possessed by, the evils. All of you in both sides of the story have agreed that you don't want to fight each other and there is no point to this war, and you don't want to kill innocents.
So how many dramatic suicides are there then?
So far, 4.
Wow.
I was actually joking, Ari.
No, there are 4 dramatic suicides in just the Conquest route so far, and I'm at chapter 24 out of 27.
Oh
plus
my
in-game.
gravy, why?
It's just so mind-numbingly stupid. Everybody agrees that this is all just the king and his 2 advisors that are corrupted by some evil force that is the problem. The royals know it. His children know it.
So you think
everybody's in on this?
Yeah, you'd think go stab the king in the face, and problem solved.
Yeah. There's just every time anything dramatic happens in the story, you're just like, you all have already literally sat down around a table in a neutral area and talked about this and agreed with each other. Why are you not all just marching in his throne room and punching him in the face right now?
Because they're not very bright.
Yes, it just completely subverts everything this game's trying to do with its story. It's just like, you all are just a bunch of idiots.
You just lock the door of the throne room and throw away the key. It will be fine.
Yeah, like, I'm sorry, your dad is corrupt. You know it, I know it, the enemies know it.
We need to kick him off his chair, and the problem's solved.
Like, yes, but it's like... And sometimes they act like they do know this. And then sometimes in the story, your siblings in not Europe just forget. And act like it's the normal king. Because they have fond memories of when he wasn't an evil, corrupt monster. Clearly, under the influence of the evils. This was not how old FE games went. They used to make logical sense, and they used to know when to do the big reveals and stuff, and not give this kind of weird, like, we have to be loyal to him because we're our countrymen. In the past games when they did that, the villain would laugh at his subordinates once the trope got called out by the protagonists.
Maybe they're deliberately trying to do some sort of weird commentary on nationalism.
I don't know. It's just so bad. So it doesn't matter that, I could understand all of the decisions, if not for the fact that everybody is literally on the same page, but continues to work against each other anyway. These people are not human. They are contrivances to make a map that you have to play through. There is
a stupid map.
Well, they have stairs. That's the closest thing to teleporters, but the stairs show you where you're going, so it's not a big deal. So yeah, the story is a complete crapshoot. And you play as Corrin, the sheltered, princess of Nor, who was kidnapped from Hoshido, got a case of the evils in not Europe.
Also a dragon because reasons.
Yeah, I know the backstory to Corrin before I played the Revelations route, so even without finishing that, I know why he's a dragon.
Mm-hmm.
But if you just got this game at launch before the Revelations route was out, where you can tell both of your idiot siblings peace, they don't tell you. He just has dragon powers in Conquest and Birthright. For no reason.
Like Kanye.
Yeah, it totally has the dragon soul.
Yeah, he's got dragon blood.
Oh boy.
Like, it's just...
So, he could play as Kanye.
Yeah, so Kanye gets kidnapped from Japan by Europe and lives in Europe his entire life, and then one day gets kidnapped by his birth siblings and parents again. It's like, you're really from our country. You should totally come stay with us and help us fight the country that's, has your entire family, effectively, that's actually raised you, because that makes sense. The whole Birthright side of the story makes no sense at all. Like you were born and raised in Nor, and these are your brothers and sisters who you thought were your blood brothers and sisters forever. You've known them literally your whole life. You don't have a clue who your Hoshido family are. They literally kidnap you after you fall in a hole and drag you off of their country and tell you, Nor's bad, okay? You need to help us fight them. And that's when you make your decision.
Well, the whole point of the Fire Emblem franchise is to marry your stepsister. Like, that's what the franchise does.
And, after stroking her affectionately on the face.
Yeah, and
that's what
what
genealogy, the Holy War, Fates, and Awakening are about. Yes.
Yes.
Well, since the entire game is about marrying one's stepsister, you might as well make it as convoluted as possible and give you as many stepsisters as possible to choose from.
Oh boy.
So yeah.
If you think that I'm wrong about that being the reason, feel free to say so, but I'm pretty sure I'm right.
No, I just cannot disagree with that, and I really wish I could, but I just cannot.
No, that's the entire plot of Genealogy, the Holy War, so I can't exactly dispute it.
Yep. Also time travel, but yeah.
But yeah, so yeah, this is the new route though. Like, it was a one-off thing in Genealogy until Awakening. Now the whole point of the game is to give you a whole bunch of various flavors of sexually attractive to some minds characters that you can waifu or husbando.
Oh boy.
Now, thankfully, we can actually talk about the game. Because none of this mattered to me when I've been playing this game. I just wanted a dang Fire Emblem game, and if it wasn't going to give me the story and the characters I wanted, fine. Just give me a game to play. And thankfully, the map design, at least in Conquest, is really dang good. However, some of the maps have problems, and that's with enemy placement. And they just didn't do it right. So, in Fire Emblem, it's very important where you put what units and what type of units go where, because certain units beat other units. It is not uncommon for older games to mix and match unit types. But it is very uncommon for them to put a bunch of general all-purpose units together in a blob and run them into you until their numbers just overwhelm your stats. And there's nobody in your army that's going to hold a choke point against ninjas that debuff your entire stat line by 4 every time they attack. So you have to get really creative and really lucky in some of these maps where the ninjas or whatever just have to miss so they don't debuff you. Because they've added a whole bunch of debuff classes in this game that just make it so your best units can wind up useless if they hit you too many times, or RNG just says they want to attack that one dude in an open field. It does not matter if they're a tank. Zero defense is zero defense, no matter how much armor's on the character model. So...
It's paper mache.
That's about as defensive as it gets.
Which is a shame, because they have a whole lot of cool map designs. Like, they have a map where you have to place units on bridges that have wind blowing up and down it, and the wind changes direction. At the end of the enemy's turn, the wind will do a big gust and kick you up 5 tiles or down 5 tiles, depending on which direction it's going, and you can trigger it to kick the enemies. Like, there's some cool ideas here. Stuff we haven't seen done before in Fire Emblem, and that map's really good. They actually do the enemies okay on that map. There's one in a swamp where dudes will spawn until you shut off all the spawn points and go fight the boss. And each spawn point's guarded by a mini-boss, and you have to find some way to divide your squad into 5 sections in a big open swamp without having overlap. So that was really good and unique. Also really hard, which is why it's in Conquest. And this is going to be a running thing in Conquest if you're playing it. Conquest is probably harder than Fire Emblem 6 and 7 for sure. Not quite as hard as Radiant Dawn, though.
Right.
So, I think you said you only played the GameCube one, so that should give you some context.
Yeah. So Radiant Dawn is the one I played the most of.
Yeah. Radiant Dawn is by far the hardest if you play it on the default difficulty.
Yeah. Also, reset my GameCube more times than any other game.
Yep. That'll do it.
Oh, yes, it will.
So, yeah. But other than that, it doesn't feel like Fire Emblem. It feels like a really bad mobile social sim with Fire Emblem maps tacked onto it.
Ew.
Like, going back to home base and getting censored social link supports on top of everything else that are completely rewritten to basically go nowhere with all the nuance of whatever these characters originally had cut out in the US version.
Yeah, the localization team were SJWs, so...
Yeah.
Took to the whole thing with a fire axe.
Like, yeah, this is just terrible. All of the children characters have had their personalities completely ripped out. Like, they just don't exist anymore. They just have one trope, and that's it. All of the main characters have been boiled down to primarily be represented by one trope, and the rest of their nuance replaced by generic friendliness. Like, I thought this was just the case of the game until I remembered that the localization team did a thing. And they actually wound up making the game harder for you, because there are stat boosting items you can get from the accessory shop and stuff that got cut out because they were too risque. Like, the swimsuits are gone, but they make you do 2 more damage in enemy castles. That is a tool that you don't have access to anymore. That
is a rather nonsensical stat, but yeah, losing that would be annoying.
Well, Fire Emblem has recently gotten weird with the skills and stats on accessories.
Yeah.
But yes. And this is why I really wanted to talk about it, is when it was just the censorship, censoring, the story and content in the game that was not gameplay, it was annoying, but not, absolutely rage-inducing. But the second they cut out stuff that affects gameplay, that's when I started to get pretty mad.
Mm-hmm.
So, in addition to this, the equivalent to social links in Sona is called supports in Fire Emblem. The missing supports that have just been cut from the game entirely means that units that go together in the Japanese version, and these maps are designed to have work together, no longer get bonus stats when they work together if their support has been cut in the English version. Because you can't rank them up. And you do not get bonus stats for them working together if they cannot rank up a support. And some of these supports have just been cut. There just are random supports that were in the Japanese version that were clearly intended for certain units at certain points in the game that have just been cut. And this makes it so in the US version of Conquest, if you're playing on hard classic mode, which I am, you have to do some really wonky stuff and go on the internet and guide your way through this on what units you need for where, because the tools they intended for you to have in the Japanese version of the game are not there. You may be like, oh, well, 3 strength isn't that big of a deal. Yes, it is. Yeah. 3 strength by chapters at any point in the game is a huge deal. That's going to make it so you one-shot the mob with counter on it that does the damage back to you if it survives or not. And you cannot go back and grind. So you need every little bit of help you can get. So, and at the end of the day, you wind up having to marry the furry to get the stupid general because Effie doesn't roll her stats right, is what happens.
That was abrupt.
Yes.
Yeah.
I've been going too long on this, so I'm trying to hurry it along. But yeah, this game is just terrible. Except, there's a potential here in the map design. I feel really bad for whoever came up with these levels because they are really inspired and really unique. But the localization team royally messed everything up that was to do with the narrative that was already pretty bad. And then we have, just missing content.
Taken away because people's feels.
Yeah, and then we have the enemy design, which is just not in line with the map design. So there is potential here. There are lessons I hope they've learned from this game, but stay the heck away from this one. I know I normally come with games you can maybe look at, maybe not, but especially if you're a Fire Emblem fan, I know Conquest was supposed to be marketed to be played by you guys and played by us. This isn't Fire Emblem. I don't know what this is.
It's a mess.
A mobile
sounds like.
This is a mobile dating sim with some Fire Emblem maps stuck in it.
Except they took the dating sim bit out.
Well, the dating sim's still there. It's just really bad and censored.
Yeah. So it may as well not be there.
Anyway, the game's a train wreck. There's so much stuff wrong with it, I had to jump around while I was talking about it.
If I recall correctly, there was one character in there that they made into a lesbian because the translator felt that it was homophobic that she wasn't a lesbian.
Oh, that would explain. That would
basically, localization in a nutshell these days.
That would explain why Yaoi Fangirl, who I've been calling fanfiction.net on my playthrough.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Has had the wonkiest support conversations where she seems to jump between being, just a young middle school age girls messing around, pointing out the girls and stuff, or to being legitimately interested in girls. It doesn't make any sense. Consistency is not a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, none of the supports make sense. They will radically change topic, whereas before in Fire Emblem games, as you supported 2 units together, the story of those 2 units would progress, and you would get a bit of backstory on both of them and their relationship with each other. And this one, they're just random stuff from left field that has nothing to do with the main plot that's going on in the game, and nothing to do with the characters besides their quirks. It's just... And this is mostly the fault of the localization team. At least in Japan, the supports had consistency and grew off each other. In this, they're one-off gag reels that are not very funny. In fact, they're not funny at all. They're boring. So, yes. Terrible video games. All in all, 3DS is a terrible system. It has terrible video games on it. I will find better video games to recommend to you later because I've been talking about the 3DS for way too long. So,
Yep. Moving on.
Moving on. That is my week. So, yes, I'm not going to talk about work or any of the other stuff. I haven't finished the PS4 games that I was talking about before because I want to get the 3DS done and out of my life. I've had nothing but bad experiences with it, and I don't know why I do this to myself. But I have to finish stuff. Can't leave stuff undone.
All right, we should probably take.
I really should have wrote notes for that.
I don't know. I think having it come off the cuff seemed to encapsulate just how nonsensical those games are.
It's all over the place. That was terrible. Anyway,
Just like the games. Perfect.
pretty much. All right.
So,
Trying to click the show host button and accidentally leave the lobby.
what news do we have? It is a bit sparse because a lot of it is still recovering from the E3s. Let me actually find the right tab because Discord does not want to behave itself right now. There we go.
By the way, we have an email in case y'all forgot. or
Oh,
didn't
do we?
check.
I did. I
Wait.
100% forgot and did not check.
I'm so used to there being nothing in there, I forgot to check.
Yes, we have an email.
Well, if you've got it open,
So-
sir, go for it.
Okay. Well, y'all can put up with my voice for a bit longer. Okay. This one is from Serathus, as usual, because none of the rest of you love us, but Serathus does. And
Who
he
loves
says,
this?
Dear No Excuses. So finally, I have finished Crush, and holy moly.
He's
running
running
over
over Crush again.
I forgot he was playing that.
Are you sure he loves us?
I'm not sure. Anyway. And holy moly, things went grim by the end. Seducing the Antichrist to stop her from destroying the world, all while she destroys the fourth wall, is just the beginning. No more spoilers. Play the game yourselves if you want to know more. I don't really, Serathus. That's the thing.
I don't know. That sentence kind of sounds pretty awesome
Nah, I'm
because
good.
it's so dumb.
It's a clicker porn game.
Yes, it is.
Nope. Anyway, the end of expansion burnout hit hard in World of Warcraft. Once my subscription ran out, I figured it would be a good time to check back into FF14 to punch things out on my Catboy.
Yes.
I got to level 32-ish when I got bored of the queue time, so I switched. I think you meant switched. So I switched to Gladiator to switched. I think you meant from Gladiator to Sword and Board.
Gladiator is the sword and board.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I got it. Okay, that sense makes more sense now. Okay, that looked really weird. I switched to Gladiator to Sword and Board. Cabbage died, and wait a minute, hang on. My browser is messing up.
Are you sure? Because it sounds mostly like you just can't England.
You can't England now, eh?
I can't England. Hang on, let me fix this.
Oh boy.
No, I tried to realign the sentences to make it easier to read and accidentally messed up everything. I lost my place. Okay, let's try that again. Suddenly, instant queue. Okay, he's talking about his Gladiator. Suddenly, instant queues with bonus ZXP and questing didn't get mind-bogglingly slow with my bird pecking at things. Bird pecking.
Bird pecking.
Okay. I don't FF14, so I don't know. I didn't quite get into the story, just doing quest after quest, and oh no, all my friends got killed. Psych, only the nameless ones and the flying cabbage died. The rest got taken hostage. Is there a cabbage in the game?
I don't even know.
I've lost it.
I can't remember. I'm not sure what he's referring to exactly. It could be any number of things.
The use of cabbage is what's throwing me off in this paragraph. Okay. Then a bunch of fetch quests, then killing gods. Then came a really long instance with unskippable cutscenes. Then the post 2.0 content, which literally involved fetching crates that the porters were too lazy to do themselves.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on.
Yeah. Much teleporting and talking to NPCs ensued before I could enter the first expansion, which is basically the Vatican.
Except
would
it's
have-
in Russian, so it's more like the Orthodox Church, which would make sense since they're called the Orthodox Church.
Yes.
Yep.
10 points
And
for
they don't have
originality.
And they don't have a pope either, so
No.
they've just got a guy who is simultaneously, the king and the Archbishop.
He does
Which
have an
is
elaborate
not England.
hat.
Yes, he does have. He's got a big hat.
Yes.
But
So
yeah,
that's
It
part
is
of
a
being
Roman
Pope.
mitre. That's the closest thing to being the Vatican that they've got. Is that it's a Roman mitre? Yes.
Oh,
So-
this is getting nonsensical already.
Yes, it is.
Carry
Who would have
on.
thunk the church is? Yeah. Who would have thunk the church is corrupt? Shock
Like
horror.
churches are typically incredibly corrupt when they become very institutional. And what's more, it's a church combined with the government at the same time.
Double
Yes,
corruption
that's-
points. Love it.
It's a church in general in a fictional work. It's going to be corrupt.
Yeah. There's really
Especially
no
if
other way
you-
for churches to go.
If you, the protagonist, interact with the church and its function isn't to heal you, it's corrupt. That's how video game churches work. Shock horror. Then my subscription ran out. Unfortunately, I caught a bad case of picking up all trade skills.
Everybody does that.
Yeah, that happens to everybody.
Like if you don't do that, there's something wrong with you.
Yep.
It made trade
That's
skills
a-
so immersive in that game. So good.
That took a lot of my time. I seem to recall it taking time too when I played it, and I didn't
Well,
quite
it's
get
because
that far.
you actually have to craft. Like,
Yeah.
you don't press a button and your character crafts. You have to do the crafting.
Yeah. But at least I could send my slaves on errands and my squad slaves to run instances for me.
My pirate keeps bringing back useless crap.
Yes. Let's see. So next up was Dauntless. For less than a week, the poor man's Monster Hunter World really is the poor man's Monster Hunter World. I
Yeah.
reached what seemed to be the end game in a couple days. There are only 5 weapon classes, 3 elements. The last bits of monsters are really annoying, with them being way too tall. Oh, that says tall. Okay. Way too tall to target anything other than their legs or tail. All but 2 of the in-game monsters are beefier versions of regular monsters with attacks that tend to 3-shot you. But hey, it is the PC, so it's a start. This is going to be one of those emails when I suddenly remember the 5 other topics I wanted to write about the second I press the send button. Probably something about Doom and E3, but this email's already long enough already.
All right. That's it.
And that is from
Thank you,
yeah,
Sarah.
and that is from
Thank you, Sarah. This.
Well, he's got a P.
yeah, he does.
Oh, he always does.
Yeah, he says, I bought the expansions for FF14 and GMG, not realizing that they can't be used with the Steam version. If any listener wants them, hit me up on the Notice Uses Discord.
Okay.
He says. So you get free stuff from Sarah with this if you listen to the show.
He's more generous than we are.
Yes.
Yeah,
So
we
I've,
used to do stuff, but not anymore.
I've kept an eye on Dauntless just to see what it would do. I'm not impressed. I honestly don't see any
No,
reason I'd want to play that over Monster Hunter.
I kept waiting to see what the thing would be that they would reveal, which would be like super cool, but then they never did.
Yeah. Like you've got the
and
5
like,
weapon
they-
classes, but only 3 of them are actually worth a damn.
Yeah, I've had the argument with Serathis before, and basically the only reason he cares is because it's on the PC. Like that's the only thing that it has going for it is that it's on the PC and not the PlayStation because he doesn't have a PS4.
I think Monster Hunter
But,
World comes
like-
out on the PC in July.
Yeah, considering what a complete mess the lobby system can be to use sometimes, there's probably a lot of work to convert the netcode to something that will work with PCs.
Yeah. Hopefully something that makes a bit of sense.
But yeah, what I like about Monster Hunter is the fact that it looks like a place. Like when you go out and fight things, like the worst stage is obviously Elder's Recess, which doesn't look like anything but a series of arenas. But all of the other zones are really, really well designed in general, and they've got they're clearly places that there are animals living here as well as big giant monsters, and everything looks like a real place, and so on and so forth. Whereas Dauntless doesn't have any of that. Dauntless is just an arena floating in the sky, and you go to the arena and you kill the monster.
Maybe.
That sounds more like Soul Sacrifice or something like that than Monster Hunter, which is based on Monster Hunter. It's very similar, but
Yeah, there's a lot of Monster Hunter rip-offs around the place, and most of them aren't very good.
I think
I think
Monster
God Eater was
Hunter
actually pretty
World
good,
has-
but yeah.
yeah,
Monster Hunter World is just it's at such a sort of superlative level of execution that I don't think that you can just make something easily which surpasses it, because I mean it is riddled with issues, but most of them are relatively small next to the fact that you can, kill giant monsters.
Yeah.
And you need a freaking spreadsheet to understand what's going on behind the scenes, and even then you're only basically fooling yourself if you think you do understand it. So yeah, I don't know. It's I think that he's right describing it as legitimately the poor man's Monster Hunter world, because a lot of its fans were just like, "Oh no, you're just Monster Hunter fanboys. That's why you think this is good." But no, I didn't see any footage that suggested that it was anything more than a lark. Like you can't really sink into it, from what I can see. You can't really sink into it the way you do in Monster Hunter. There's room for it to grow.
Oh,
and
loads.
it's probably in a lot of respects easier to grow that game than it is Monster Hunter, because it's probably the code is less spaghetti, and basically there's so much empty space for you to jam things into. But it's not a serious competitor. Like Monster Hunter has the Monster Hunter name, and the name is attached to something that is actually good, which is a rarity from Capcom. So
just do it one more time, Capcom, and then you can die. I don't care after that.
Give us another
but
Okami.
if they die, then you won't get Devil May Cry 6.
That's okay. I just want one good one. Just end it on a good note. That's all I want.
No, they're going to end it on Marvel versus Capcom versus Bandai or something. I don't know.
Ugh.
Ugh.
I'm just terrified of Capcom. I just know they're going to mess everything up anytime they have a franchise I like.
There are talented people at Capcom. There are people who know how to put together a good game. But then there's a Street Fighter team.
And the recent Ace Attorney games, which are lower quality. And the Marvel vs. Capcom team. And what else have they messed up? Monster Hunter is literally the only game they haven't messed up yet.
Yeah, we'll see what they do to Mega Man.
Yeah, like... Just obligatory Capcom ripping.
Yep.
It must be done at least once a show.
That's done and out of the way. Excellent. Box ticked.
It's just who we are.
Yes, indeed.
If they made good video games, we wouldn't have to.
Well,
or at least not as much.
What I find really annoying is they've shown that they can make good video games. Vidgoodja games, yes, as well. But then they do something stupid that in no way could have possibly seemed like a good idea.
Yeah, like I'm just sort of waiting to see what they do to trash Monster Hunter completely. Like when they're onto such a good thing, it's such an incredible seller, and everybody loves it. Well,
how are you going to ruin
it? Everybody who's not like a really crotchety old school Monster Hunter fan loves it, because they all think it's for casuals. But
or the dyed-in-the-wool Dark Souls lovers, because they think it's just Dark Souls.
They don't like anything but Dark Souls, so
that is very true.
Really, not really valuable. But, yeah, I'm just terrified that they're going to find something that they can do. Like they'll reach the anniversary of the Monster Hunter release, and they'll say, okay, so everything from here on out requires you to go through this monstrous paywall or something like that, and it ends up splitting the user base.
I wouldn't complain if they put out a major expansion. Say you pay, I don't know, $20 and you get 10 new monsters and 2 new Elder Dragons and a full tech tree for both. Or for the
the thing is that would just be an expansion. Like,
yeah,
I'm talking about something much more mercenary, which is basically something of a magnitude that would split the player base, because that would basically destroy online. And
yes,
the fact that we play a lot of it solo, like that's a rarity. From what I can tell, a lot of the people, particularly people who are new to Monster Hunter, prefer to play with randoms than play solo.
Yeah,
we are of the rare breed that can grind alone. That is not a thing most people like to do.
Yeah. Anywho.
Or can do, for that matter.
Got to fight their monsters alone because they behave slightly differently and generally less randomly.
Makes ranges up when you get multiple people in there and watch the thing hop around everywhere.
Just watch it scamper all over the arena.
Me and Fern run up to the monster. We're all three next to it. Vol runs away to get some range, and the monster hops for Vol because now there's a distance he needs to cover, and we wind up chasing it again.
Yeah.
And this repeats.
Well, I don't play bow anymore.
No. So now it just
I play
does.
the single most common weapon in the game, the greatsword.
It's a big old stonking lump of iron on a stick.
Most of the weapons could be described that way. They're pretty big.
I play as hammers, which is generally a lump of rock on a stick.
Might be bone.
It could be bone. I think my current one's some sort of fridge core. I don't know.
Anyway, has Dauntless come out yet?
No, it's
Like,
still
is it
in the beta
still in
stage.
beta? Yeah, because I mean, like, I haven't given up on it. It could still turn into something good if they are good about heeding feedback and that sort of thing. I mean, I don't know what they're like about that, but yeah, it's not a lost cause. Like they've got a good core in there. Apparently, it feels a bit different to Monster Hunter relative to Monster Hunter. Like Monster Hunter is sort of a bit
Japanese.
Well, I don't, I've seen sort of conflicting things on in what ways it's specifically different in terms of how it plays. But a lot of people have said various things like the combat in Dauntless has more sort of like a fluid but deliberate feel to it. Like you don't have the sort of like the stalk, frantic period of activity, stalk sort of pattern that you tend to fall into in Monster Hunter.
Mm-hmm.
And in general, there's less constant transitioning between stalking and fighting, and instead you just sort of the monster and the player dance around each other in a more sort of continuous way. That's what I've seen some people testify to anyway. But everybody plays these games a little bit different.
Yeah, so that sounds fine.
But yeah, in the end, it's going to be about the content, though, right? Like because you need to keep people.
Yep.
And that's always the case. Like every WoW killer died on that, right? That they couldn't keep people. And the same applies anytime you're really trying to carve out a niche in a genre which has a strong dominating property.
Mm-hmm. All right, we've got to move on because time is against us.
Yep.
All right, news. Oh boy, these are all depressing.
Well, I mean, I just grabbed a few things. I didn't thoroughly do all of the best news of the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. Well, E3 has been the news. Every single news article has had E3 in front of it for 2 weeks now.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, pretty much.
So yeah, and we already did the E3 thing. So
twice.
We're going to be in the E3 post E3 doldrums for at least a month.
Yeah, everybody's pretty much spent at this point, and it's just a matter of waiting for there to be something interesting to talk about again.
Mm-hmm. All right.
There's sort of a constant flow of content trickling out, but it's all in the mode of like, oh well, we have for our coverage, we've got 50 minutes of play of this game or whatever. So.
Yeah, it's like nothing we can really bounce off of or stuff you might be interested in that would be relevant to what you're doing or interested in. So, But there's a few things. So Vol actually grabbed the only thing I was going to stick in there this week. I guess we'll start there.
Go for it.
Get us rolling. Valve has released an improved Discord-like chat platform for Steam.
Yes,
yeah.
I believe you need to currently be in the beta opt-in for it if you want to see it, though.
Yes. I am not in the beta. Are either of y'all?
I have not looked at it, honestly, because...
The operative thing there is Discord-like. I mean,
yeah.
Obviously, they aren't going to describe it that way, but they're trying to compete with an established piece of software, and we just got done talking about how hard that is.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And I'm not confident that they care, because they haven't done a damn thing to improve the Steam chat for goodness only knows how long.
Nah.
So, yeah, I don't know. Are they really?
It has been a glorified AIM window for over 10 years now.
Yeah, it has not changed at all in probably 10, 15 years.
Yeah, it's not very good. Like I abandoned it the first opportunity that I got. Like I used it heavily for a long time, but I used it as a replacement for MSN Messenger.
Yeah.
I didn't use it because it was great. I used it because, well, all my friends were also on Steam, and they didn't, have as much bloatware attached to it. So, yeah.
Yep. Moved from AIM to Steam.
Yeah.
I'm not sure which is worse, MSN or AIM.
Both are ancient and bad.
Could be worse. Could be
Yeah,
AOL.
there was also very little else. Like,
Yeah.
Other people that I know moved to some sort of Facebook instant messaging thing that I don't know anything about.
A lot of the kids these days are using the Facebook instant messenger.
The kids these days.
The kids these days.
How old are you, Fern?
I don't know, but I'm decaying as I speak.
You're not going to be able to get out of your rocking chair soon. I was more than happy to abandon Steam because of basically the thing that instantly got me to go to Discord was the fact that there's chat history. But
yes,
they've really been industrious about both courting deals and sponsorships. They've got Microsoft on board now. They've basically constantly added things to it. Like, I've never attempted to do it, but apparently there's like fully functional video chat in there somewhere.
Yeah.
But this is not going to be the easy conquest that I think Valve thinks it is.
Yeah.
Like, you need to. The Discord project has taken a long time to get to where it is now. Like, I was using it long before anybody else I knew was, because my free company in Final Fantasy did.
Mm-hmm.
They jumped on board as soon as it became open beta, and so I've been using it for a long time, and I've seen it improve. And it's been a long running project, a long road to get to where it is now. And I'm not really confident that even with Valve's resources, they can just turn around and make it work and get uptake on it. Like, I don't know how many people are using Steam actively as a platform and are not using Discord. Like, how big is that audience? Is that like, the COD players and nobody else? Like,
I don't know. I only open Steam when I want to play games now because all my friends have moved to Discord. I was one of the holdouts,
likewise.
And I'm here now too. Like,
yeah, I still know a few people are holding out
for it,
but I don't know why. Because every time I try to say, well, why don't you use Discord? It'll mean you can get rid of all these superfluous websites and just combine everything into one place, and they have no good reason for it.
yeah.
It's just they do what they have always done.
I held out for a long time, like almost a year after Discord became known to the populace.
Especially since Reddit's now ruining their interface. Ugh.
Like,
I don't know anything about Reddit.
Good.
Yeah,
That's probably a good thing.
Oh, Reddit. There are a few very specific subreddits that are okay, but
So, yeah.
don't go to Reddit.
Might have to take a bit of a peek at this Steam offering, see what they've got going. I doubt it'll have.
I'm interested from that academic perspective, right? Like,
Yeah.
how are they planning to do this? What are they going to bring to the table that Discord doesn't have that will allow them to seize market share?
Mm.
I will be very disappointed in them if they don't even have a plan. But I strongly suspect that might be the case.
Had you asked last week, I would have said a link to a profile outlining people's gaming history. But nope, Discord does that now too.
Yeah.
They just added that.
There's already Steam integration in Discord. Like, I don't know if, like, presumably you need a certain amount of agreement from the company to do that. Now, the real stinker would be if they decided that in order to push their particular platform, and I don't know why they would, because there's not necessarily anything in it for them to do that, but if they decided that they were going to make things as difficult as possible to interface with Discord.
Yeah, I hope they don't
because
go that
they have
route.
their own one that they want to push. Like, I hope they don't do that.
Yeah.
I don't see why they would, because that would attract mainly bad things. Wouldn't look good for them, and basically it would make them look like the enemy because they were spending their development time on being, obstructive rather than providing things for the user. But yeah.
Well, either because Steam's a bunch of idiots, or we just happen to be the unlucky demographic that keeps getting hit. Steam's been doing a lot of dumb things.
Yeah, it's true. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what things are like at, you know, the decision making level on Steam. Like for the longest time we could count on Steam because of Gabe Newell.
Mm-hmm.
Because he had a coherent philosophy about what he wanted gaming to be and what he wanted the Steam platform to be. He knew. I don't necessarily agree with all of his ideas, but he knew what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
he's retired to his money pits now.
Well, after that, we were able to sort of like run on Gabe Newell fumes for a while, sort of thing.
That sounds incredibly unpleasant.
Well, you know what I mean, though, right? Like his legacy was so large that it left a mark, and people sort of knew that there was a way of doing things that was successful because Gabe Newell showed us all what it was, and that's faded away over time, which is why we've got, you know, increasing restrictions on everything, basically.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't know. It seems like Valve as a whole is gradually drifting away from what made them successful because Gabe's influence is really starting to diminish.
Yeah. I don't know much about Steam's internal workings or the people there. I don't even know that much about Gabe.
That's just it's what I said is largely speculation, but I think that when Gabe stopped being like so central to the whole project, that was the point at which we saw games stop coming out of Valve and Valve focusing on how to squeeze more money out of the machine that they had.
Yes. All right.
So yeah.
I'll
tell you right now, I'm not opening another full screen window chat client on my PC. Like that'll make me never open Steam.
Valve does have the money to blow Discord out of the water in functionality. However, there are plenty of WoW killers that were released contemporaneous with World of Warcraft that were better in several mechanical aspects. However, the prior investment that people had in their previous game of choice massively outweighed that. And lots of people use Discord now. Lots of communities exist exclusively on Discord now. How are you going to get them to pick up shop and move?
To win you over, they don't need to sell it to you. They need to sell it to you and all of your friends to get you to move.
I mean, they could argue that we don't actually want that. We don't necessarily want to pluck up all of these communities off of Discord and put them on our platform. We don't need that or want that. Yeah, but if people have communities on Discord, they're not going to jump ship for just one of them. And it just isn't. What are you accomplishing if you just pick up, a couple games worth of people? Like, people have attempted this thing before. Like that entire project with Raptor that is now just, a weird little adjunct to Bradian drivers now. They attempted to do it and failed. They attempted to do the same thing that Discord succeeded at, and it just crumbled miserably because they couldn't get anybody to take it up, because when they released, they were a very, very, very marginally more functional version of what Steam provided to community.
Yep, they didn't offer anything new, whereas Discord, when they came up, they more or less combined a whole bunch of disparate features that people had spread across various different programs and brought them all together into one. And did it well.
Yeah. And Discord just didn't pop up overnight. It happened over time. So
yeah, when
your friends all wind up there, you show up at Discord. You move from your vent or your Steam chat or wherever you were at.
Oh, and yeah,
I don't think Steam's going to bring people back.
Nobody uses voice chat on Steam because it's awful.
Yeah.
It's unstable and has a terrible quality.
Yes. Vol had to run to the restroom.
All right.
Let's see. Pick the next one. Anything.
I'm not sure. So we got a quick little nugget here. Final Fantasy VII Remake did not show up at E3. But we at least got the reassurance
kind
of
of surprising, actually.
Yeah, I was kind of expecting a nice, shiny new trailer to go with it.
I mean, I didn't expect gameplay, but I expected, some kind of pre-rendered something.
Yeah. Show us the whole cast rendered in a new engine or, I don't know, whatever. But
apparently they've, from what I've heard, now this is just rumor, but I have heard that they're actually having trouble figuring out how they want to make changes to the gameplay of Final Fantasy VII in the remake.
Okay.
I mean, we all know what the fans of the game want. And, I like Final Fantasy VII. I don't think it's a bad game, but it is not my favorite Final Fantasy like it is for a bunch of people.
Likewise.
But to make people buy that video game, it has such nostalgic appeal. All you got to do is just re-release the game with better graphics.
Yeah.
I thought that they understood that for a little while, and then I realized that no, they all think they need to be creative.
Personally, I'd like to get rid of a lot of the extra superfluous mini games, but yeah, that's just me.
There are a lot of people who just love that stuff. Like that's like their favorite bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, that is all rumor though. Nobody really knows what happens in any Japanese studio, and Square especially isn't talking about what's going on with Final Fantasy VII Remake right now because it's still in, for all we know, it could still be in pre-planning. We've seen one announcement trailer and that's it.
Well, I mean, they're saying that they've made progress though. So
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know how much progress. I don't know how much progress you need to do to say your development is going well, like the article that I put in our list. But
yeah, that's what we were talking about. But yeah, it seems like this was aimed at the rumors that there's problems with figuring out where they want to take the gameplay.
But the thing is that we've got to think about the context, right? Like a long development cycle is Final Fantasy 15. Think about that.
Yeah,
that's the scale for when things are actually going poorly.
When they need to completely rebuild the project right from the ground up again.
But that project started at the same time the project to make FF13 came out.
Yes, it did.
Like that, they were supposed to be developed in parallel.
Like, yeah, that project was going all through 13's development, through 14's first development, through 14's crash and burn and rebuild, and then got split into like how many types of media? 3? A movie, anime, and a game, and its story was a mess, and its gameplay was iffy at best.
Yeah, there are some issues, let's say.
Like, yeah, you think they would have learned. They need to get rolling. Get a new producer or something. Like, you need somebody who can manage people better, Square.
All right. Next article. Let me see. WoW Classic is apparently still a thing.
Oh, right. I read something about that still happening.
This is another case, much like the previous one, of there being rumors that nothing was happening and them having to dispel them somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got a bit of a blog post.
Did we know?
Oh.
Yeah. Oh, did we know before this blog post that it was going to be 1.1 or 1.12?
No,
that's basically an announcement.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the
I don't
new
remember
bit.
which patch that was really.
Naxxramas?
That's really I don't.
No, that's not right.
I think it's when they introduced a PvP system that was like actually a PvP system
that actually worked.
Wasn't that this?
Worked as kind of
Yeah,
that's ennobling it.
I think that was, yeah, it was post Naxxramas Eastern Plaguelands PvP patch, maybe.
With the lol sand.
I don't remember. No, that's Silithus. But
yeah, but they came in the same
patch.
patch.
It's been so long. We're talking about stuff that came out a decade ago, more than a decade and a half ago.
Yeah,
my friend's getting bigger.
No, I refuse to acknowledge that it was that long ago. It can't be. It's like 14 years tops. I won't accept more than that.
Come sit next to me in the rocking chair, Jimmy. Ugh. So yeah, it's old, but it's still happening. So we got a nice long blog post kind of outlining some of the challenges they hit.
1.12 Drums of War, released August 22, 2006.
Oh, wow. And what was the key piece of content in that one?
I'm trying to work that out. Looks like Silithus EPL PvP.
So it is the Sandlore patch.
Cross Realm, Alterac Valley, Warsong Gulch, and Arathi Basin.
Mm-hmm.
Pile of class changes, pile more class changes. can't find anything that's really.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it was.
It looks
it's
like
effectively-
this was the time at which their PvP was like, okay, we've solved the major problems. So it's like outdoor PvP works in accordance with what they think working is, and cross realm battlegrounds, like that's what it's. I think the cross realm battlegrounds is really the marker there.
Yeah. All right.
I
That
can't
was
remember
before...
exactly where that sits in terms of content, though.
I think that was
I think-
before Cross Realm.
Next Ramus was 1.11.
Yes.
I think 1.12 is like that's the last really big one before they started ramping up for Burning Crusade, probably.
Sounds
that
about
sounds
right.
right. It's definitely post Nax, so all the PvE content will be there.
Yeah, 1.12.3 was the last World of Warcraft 1 patch.
All right. So that's
That
likely
was-
to be the one they'll run.
The Before the Storm content patch prepping for Burning Crusade was December 5th, 2006.
Right.
Oh my goodness, I was in school when this patch was going on.
Yep.
Now you're in the retirement home.
Welcome to
Oh.
old.
I wasn't even in college yet. What?
Uh,
I hate my life. I hate everything about being older. Make it stop.
It won't stop. It keeps happening. So yeah,
So yeah,
for those who actually care about WoW Classic, honestly, I don't see the appeal. Like, yeah, it'd be nice to go and have a quick look to see how the game has changed over the years and
Well,
dust off a little nostalgia. But
I think that part of the reason that they are making a push now and emphasizing the fact that they're actually doing it is because there's been a lot of backlash regarding the changes that they've made prepping for the new expansion.
mhm.
Namely, there's basically nothing recognizable from the old version of the game anymore. Like, it's gone.
Yep.
It's gone. Gonzo. There's nothing left of vanilla. It's all over.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people are like, well, this game just doesn't have World of Warcraft in it anymore. I don't really want to play anymore. Like, that's sort of the problem that they're contending with now.
Right.
So they at this point, if they want to retain those people, they need this product. Even though you don't see the appeal, there are people who are leaving over it not being there. So yeah.
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 We shall see then. But
This
yeah.
is just. I've unhooked the WoW IV. I'm off the drug. It's been wonderful. I'm like a year and a half sober or something. It's awesome.
But, I mean, it's free to go back this weekend, isn't it? But I still didn't do it because there's nothing for me there now. Like, I still have like the odd spontaneous feeling of pining for it,
Mhm.
but it's never followed up by anything because there's just not really that much for me there. They don't want me to play the way they want me to play in a way that I don't want to. Like, as far as World of Warcraft is concerned, at this point, it is actually, I feel that it is optimal for me to log in and raid and log out again, and they are actively trying to discourage me from doing that.
Yeah.
Because I don't have the time to do all that frippery outside raids. I want to be able to prep for raids and then call myself prepped for raid and then raid in the weekends, and it doesn't want me to. End
Yep.
of story.
I've still got friends and family who keep trying to drag me back every now and again, but
That's
They
always
never
the problem.
succeed.
There's always somebody who's guilty of pushing that particular wheelbarrow.
yeah. All
The
right.
second new WoW expansion comes out, I'm turning Discord off for like a week.
Why
Nah.
do you think everybody's going to try and get you to come back again?
They always do, even after I tell them I'm not coming.
Yeah, this time it doesn't even really look that good. Like, and my guild have changed server like again, so I don't want to pay to move all of my stuff over. That would cost me like hundreds of dollars. So
Yeah,
thank you.
no, thank you. Like, I can see some neat mechanics and bits and pieces in there, but not enough to bring me back.
I think that even Neat is probably giving it too much credit from what I've seen. Like, It's just not. It's not cool. It's not cool.
Mm-hmm.
And cool is
Looks-
basically the whole reason to play something, is if it's cool. So yeah, no, thank you, no, thank you. It's just they've mutilated too many different classes over the course of time. I don't understand what they've done now. In a lot of cases, they've oversimplified tanking to the point where I'm not really that interested anymore.
Yeah, it's face boss, push button, not die.
Yeah, too much of everything seems to hinge on everything that doesn't hinge on raiding, that is PvP, hinges on Mythic Plus. And don't get me wrong, Mythic Plus is good, but the sort of Mythic Plus play that tends to happen is degenerate from my point of view, like that speed running stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like it's not fun. It's not like it's categorically not fun. It's just that it's the sort of thing that tires me out. That sort of optimizing your path through the instance sort of thing, and constantly working on that. Like, it's not that if I want to constantly work at something, I'd rather work on a raid boss. I'm that interested, working on killing trash mobs in the most efficient way possible.
I wouldn't mind it if I could find like a bunch of like-minded people willing to set up and plan at a pace that's, not crazy, and then do the run in a burst after practicing several times. But you ain't gonna get that.
Yeah,
That's not happening.
The only thing that could basically bring WoW back for me would be if I had a regular small group of people to play with who were basically only interested in doing the same sort of content that I was interested in doing, and at sort of like no real serious pace, because I just don't have the time, I don't have the energy to care about it to the extent that I once did.
Yeah.
I could probably get back into the raiding game if I wanted to, but I don't really want to, because Blizzard has become dictatorial about how you do it. So
They're just better games with more fun systems to learn than whatever Blizzard craps out for tanking or healing or whatever.
yeah,
If
like,
you really want to learn a system, they're better games for social experiences.
the art of tanking in World of Warcraft is non-existent now. Like, there is absolutely no reason to prefer World of Warcraft tanking over Final Fantasy XIV tanking in the state that it's in now. And the boss fights in Final Fantasy XIV are just way cooler, generally.
Yeah.
Like, they're not even necessarily always mechanically more complex, but they are definitely cooler.
They're a production. Each major boss, and even a lot of the minor ones, they're a show. They put on a spectacle.
I don't even know the music for World of Warcraft bosses, if there even is special music for World of Warcraft bosses. But like, I listen to the music for Final Fantasy XIV bosses when I'm not even
So
playing
good.
the game, when I'm not even subscribed, because they're such great tracks.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that does not apply to World of Warcraft. Does World of Warcraft even have music? I'm not even sure anymore.
I don't know.
When was the last
I
time
don't
you
know.
listened to the World of Warcraft music?
Warcraft
Raph?
music is YouTube loop, right? You type in repeat after a YouTube video, and that's your background music for a while.
Yeah, that sounds
I
like
think
it.
you're the chief repeater around here, I think.
I cannot listen to the same song on loop.
I still have Balalaika echoing in my head.
And how many
It's
times
not
did you
going.
watch that last night?
About 6.
I watched it twice in the end, and it is still echoing a little bit. Oh boy.
It was an MD I couldn't watch. That program creeps me out.
Oh, now it's a fake
Very
granddaughter
skilled.
dance video.
Very skilled people can use it quite effectively. It's just the amateur ones. It's like amateur Hatsune Miku songs are always
Bad.
cringy and awful,
Yeah.
but there are
Yeah,
a handful of people who can just use it masterfully.
There are like 2 Miku Miku dance productions I've actually liked that didn't just hit that weird uncanny valley effect with me where I just shit.
Yep. All right. And I think that might be about us for the show. Because we're over time.
Yeah, I'm looking around. Yep, I've been
But
flipping
always
around.
over time.
Yes,
The
yes.
show
we
is
are.
90
see
minutes
that.
long on paper.
Supposed to be, and we never have been.
There's a lot of things. There's a lot of things about this show that were on paper 6 years ago when we started it. 7 years ago.
7 years ago.
8.
Has it really been that many years?
Yeah.
Yeah, 6.5 years.
I don't believe you.
I don't either, but it's the truth.
Yep. So, yeah, there is one other article, but honestly, it's so dumb, I just don't really feel like acknowledging it.
So, what I learned this week is, if you got 3 weeks to cover and stuff to talk about and tell people to avoid, write notes on it.
Also, get good and angry about really stupid mechanics.
I was going to talk about cross tag this week and give y'all some recommendations on that, but I'll have to save it for next week or something.
Hold off for next week. I'll probably join you in some of that.
Yeah, Fern will have it next week too anyway, maybe, so we'll be a bit more complete. It won't just be you rambling again.
Does it have cross-platform play or not? Like, is that a thing that they do these days?
Sometimes, but not cross tag.
Yeah, cross tag does not.
DBZ does, though.
Yeah, it does. Actually, I believe cross tag at the moment is currently cheaper on PSN than on Steam, which is probably the first time I've ever been able to say that.
Yeah.
Well, Dynasty Warriors was as well.
That's
Except
actually
not
true.
right now, 'cause it's on,
yeah.
Don't freak. I will say though, folks, those that were apprehensive about the DLC costs and stuff, Cross Tag Battle base game is a discounted game. You get it for $10 cheaper and pay $10 more for a trickle of content that will come out for about a year.
Yeah.
So it's not the horrendous DLC that the air quote journalists were reporting on.
Journalists.
Well,
Yeah.
the air quote journalists hate anything that's anime-esque, so...
If it's not a walking sim, they just don't care.
Yeah.
Ugh.
The base game is discounted in price by $10 US and by by a pretty significant amount in y'all's countries.
It's a $50 release, which for a higher profile game, for a new release, it's dirt cheap.
Yeah, like this is a discounted game that you're getting at the base price, so don't flip out about the DLC costs.
Yeah, I probably won't grab it straight away, but I'll pick it up.
Okay. Email topic of the week is: remember when Fire Emblem animations were good and legendary weapons didn't spawn trees?
You seem really salty about the trees.
I get enough of that in the Fate Grand Order. I think somebody misinterpreted what a U-bow is in that game. And
I would be fine with Robin Hood's actual tree, not saplings that trip people and show up on the screen for like half a frame.
You've got a U-bow and a U-bow. Both are spelt the same way, but are entirely different things. They are both made of wood, though.
Bow spelled B-O-U-G-H.
Yes, it is. Never mind. Wrong kind of bow.
I mean, if you spell like Avo's name, I guess it could be a U-bow or a U-bow.
The way he actually pronounces it is U-bow. So, yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
I can't say I've ever listened to it.
Yeah. So, Bishy Hood is kind of dumb, and his Noble Phantasm is rather underwhelming.
I miss helicopter
Only like,
axes.
the highest sort of damage that you can routinely trot out in the game.
Yeah. Like, it does a stupid high damage. It's just suddenly your enemy is a tree. And that's it. Anyway, let's get out of here.
Trees.
All right.
Yep. We'll see y'all next week, we guess. We've run long, so we'll see you then. Sayonara, bye-bye.